Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised.
I also have the document.
Have you smoked? Have you pre-smoked some mid?
Of course.
Pre, during, and post mid smoking will be considered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And check some vibes.
It's the Heroes Blade Vibe Check. Okay, Quinn, you ready for the 8-hour episode?
The what? I'm posting gun key emoji at you.
Okay, well, look, I don't know about you, but we can't get shown up by Andy and Kyle. You can't just do casual 7-hour podcast and not expect us to, have to follow suit. I mean, it's how it works.
Alright, directly to bed with you. And first off, the people have been clamoring for that shit for 5 years now.
Oh,
so it was a long time coming.
So impressive. And I love how every time Andy has to do okay, I'm done. It's over. Okay, it's over.
Yeah.
Too good. We'll talk about that later. But let's go over just some upkeep stuff, as in, more smoking mids on the way. It seems to be people seem to be pretty receptive to it. So more of that on the docket for sure. We got more of those. Got more cool guests lined up, of course, so that's going to keep happening. We'll let you know who's showing up next time pretty quick here. You and I have been playing a bit of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
Yeah, they recently dropped that for the Switch, and I was like, all right, I have literally all of the other Xenoblades. I'm going to keep buying them and seeing if we can get through them, because the series looks like the kind of thing that I'm into, and then I get a portion of the way into the games and then just never play them again, and I'm having a good time the whole time, so I just...
It just sounds like you're a quitter, Quinn.
Yeah, dude, I don't finish games.
Listen, you can't just say, just because they opened up the open world section of the RPG game and I have to give up because it's too much. Just open a GameFAQs guide that's spoiler free and just do the checklist.
That is literally not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm not having as much fun with Final Fantasy VI now that it's an open world RPG and it's not the linear, tight, story-driven experience that they were shepherding me through previously.
I mean, I don't know. It just sounds like an excuse, but you and I will never see eye to eye on that thing. I'm just oh man, open world, what can't I do? And then I proceed to put another 100 hours into that game.
Yeah, that's just Amy.
But I was playing Xenoblade X on the Wii U years ago and then never quite finished it because I couldn't tell you what exactly happened. I got bored or whatever. And this time I'm going to be giving it a much more authentic try. But I am pacing myself because, as it turns out, there are other games and stuff to be playing at this point in time.
And Xenoblade is fucking huge. Apparently you don't even get the mechs until you've played a game's worth of game.
Yeah, but then you now get the mech, and now there's even more game to be played. That's the cool part.
Okay, hang on. Speaking of now that you get the mech, I have some fucking beef with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
This is why I put it in the doc. Go ahead.
All right, let me get this off my chest. You cannot fucking tell me, hey, there's this quest that you need to be level 8, and if you're level 8, you can probably handle that, and then put it 2 fucking continents away from me through all sorts of uncharted territory and several level 30 and 40 and 50 monsters that will aggro you on sight and kill you in one shot. You can't tell me that I have to go through all of that and that I can handle this quest. The two are fundamentally incompatible. What the actual fuck do you want from me, Xenoblade?
And my answer to this is a skill issue, as I am running like a freaking chicken with its head cut off in between every single hazard imaginable, being like, if they just don't see me and I run fast enough and my other characters take the aggro, so I leave the aggro range and then they come back to life. No, it's an absolute fucking nightmare. It is a very interesting design. It does just make me realize, I'm like, you know what? I can wait to come back for these quests, and that's okay. But you are teasing me the entire time, and I don't appreciate that.
It's just really hard to know what is actually a quest that I can complete and what is one of these experiences that I'll have to come back to later without actually going on it and getting bodied. And it's just like, all right, well, I've wasted all of that time.
I think I remember reading that because you can change control to Elma and you level her up, you can like have two different moves. One is the drain life to add TP to the pool, and then you can use the TP to use her like evasion skill so she can't be hit. And you just keep running through stuff, evading, and then when you're out of combat, you cut your life total to boost your technical points to recharge your HP and then dodge again. And I'm like, this is a little tedious, but I do appreciate that people understand the frustration of literally dealing with every single lethal monster from point A to point Z. Like, literally going through hell. It's ridiculous.
It is fucking ridiculous. I do kind of appreciate how it makes this feel like an alien planet, that there are, like, these big monsters that just, like, sit out there, and there are, like, you can see them and stay out of their way, and they'll stay out of your way, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you ask me to go through like literal 2 continents, dude, I don't even think I'm supposed to know about this section yet for the like plot of the game. Because like I get there and this shit is like weird and alien, and then there's an achievement in the thing that says invading something or other, and I'm like, bro, what?
All right, that is pretty crazy. That's pretty nuts.
So, yeah, I'm almost certain that I'm not supposed to be doing this quest yet, but then why are you telling me that I can do this quest?
Recommended level here. 15. Are you sure about that? Right. You Japanese game developers. You freaking crazy.
I'm gonna keep playing the game because I do want to see the end of this one, and like the rest of the Xenoblades too, obviously, but I'm gonna like really like... we're trying with this one, okay?
Fair enough, understandable. I didn't put this on the docket, but I felt I was going to mention it anyway, because Andy from the Legendary Creature Discord was always like, you guys gotta play the Outer Wilds. So I binged the Outer Wilds in like 3 or 4 days.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
So I can't tell you a whole lot because it's spoilers if I do. But you are a 4-eyed alien on a planet made of wood, and somehow your species has made space travel possible. And then you go out into space, and all the planets are, like, super tiny, but it does follow, like, you know, space has 0 gravity, 0 resistance. If you are going full tilt as quickly as possible, the inertia is going to carry you unless you, like, counter the gravitational force you just exerted on yourself. So it's just a space-faring adventure game where you get to solve puzzles and stuff. And it is very cool and good, and I would encourage anyone to give it a try. But I also literally cannot say anything under threat of death.
All right, that is... I keep hearing that from people, too. They're just like, man, the Outer Wilds whips. I cannot tell you anything more
I
than
literally
that.
cannot say a word. I can't even tell you what, like, the premise is. Like, what else is going on behind the scenes. If you know some things, like, oh, there's this thing, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, sure, you know about that, but you still don't know shit. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah. Very existential game, too, as it turns out.
I think I might have that in my library from one of the things that puts that in your library or other. So
Like from forever and an age ago.
Yeah, we'll take a look at maybe playing that.
Cool. Also, as I had said on Bluesky, which, hey, by the way, go find us out over on Bluesky. The Devil May Cry show on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I am obsessed with it still. I binge watched it last week, all in the night. It's only 8 episodes. They're not an hour long episode as I expected. They kind of really trimmed the fat on it. I really enjoyed it. It's apparently very divisive, however. So
yeah, that's what I'm hearing. But you are our local Devil May Cry enjoyer.
I am an easy mark. So the show passes the vibe check. All right, there we go.
Oh yeah, passes the Cole vibe check.
It passes the Cole vibe check. My tastes are highly questionable, so take that with a grain of salt. But I had to, I really did like it, and I anticipate they're somehow gonna get greenlit for a second season, and then they'll bring it around and maybe change people's minds. But for what it is at the moment, it's pretty good, and the new Evanescence song is fucking whips. So, like, I don't give a shit.
We do love Amy Lee in this house.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. All right. Nerdy preamble done. We will continue to talk about nerdy stuff, except magic focused. That being said, just remember, everyone, if you want to chat with Quinn and I, go take a look into the link we got in the episode notes to come to another Discord, I know, to the MTG Lexicon Discord. We have a dedicated Heroes Blade Vibe Check section, and we now have a Bloodthirsty Blade Vibe Check section because Brandon could not handle not having a villain moment, so he had to have his own channel.
I think it's actually become a very interesting place for people to explore the absolute worst things that they can do to each other in a game of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, but also it's like a villain. It's like a den of villainy. Like it's truly...
it's a hive of scum and villainy. And you know what? Maybe we need that.
All right. Well, if you want a palate cleanser, either way, come check out the Discord. We'll see you there. And, all right, vibe checks.
Yeah, vibe checks. So I don't have anything in this section because I haven't been thinking about legendary creatures from Tarkir. I built that one Naive deck and then was like, all right, cool, satisfied. I'm waiting until I get the fucking drafts on MTGO and I'll figure out what these cards do then.
Okay, fair enough. I was hoping to get some Dragonstorm reps in on Arena, but it's not officially out until I think as of the weekend, so I didn't get a chance to do that. So we'll just go based off vibes as we do here.
Yeah, for sure.
I got 3 of them from Dragonstorm, both from the Commander Precons and the main sets. Just give me 1 second here to get this loaded up. In order, we got Anafinza, Unyielding Lineage, Felothar, Dawn of the Abzan, and Elsha, Threefold Master. There's different reasons for this, but we'll go over each. So, first thing on the dock, Anafinza, Unyielding Lineage. You just got 2 and a white for a 2/2 flash and first strike, and whenever the next time a creature you control would die, Anafinza gets to endure 2.
Okay. I'm already in based on Flash and First Strike and her being a legendary creature. That seems really fucking annoying.
I now have a blocking 5 power
Here's
First Strike.
Here's a 5/4 and it's got First Strike. What's good?
So pretty early on, that's pretty great. Another tool in the First Strike typal list with Quinde Pred Ephemerith. Also... another First Strike flash creature to go along with Sigrid from the... shoot. I'm suddenly blanking.
I have
Kaladesh.
no idea.
No, not Kaladesh. Kaldheim. I did this every time. Kaldheim, being a first strike flash creature that also in Sigurd's case exiles something.
Sigrid Godfavored. I forgot about that card.
Yeah, pretty neat card. Don't get caught slipping. So in the case of Anafenza, Endure 2, Endure X number value means put that many counters on the creature or create a white spirit creature token that is of that number value. In Anafenza's case, if you're able to somehow keep her alive, or some other non-token creature you control is going to die, you can either super juice her, or you can start making 2/2 spirits. So it seems like pretty neat and interesting. Simple to the point. Maybe she'll be a standard playable thing, but I'd like to see her in Commander at some point.
Yeah, I think that looks really good. Goes right alongside your Wandering Emperor, or the one with a flash and convoke.
Oh yeah.
Wandering Rescuer, that's the one.
Yes, yeah. She's so cool.
100%. Tell me about Felothar. Apparently I'm not immune to Felothar Supremacy.
Yeah, because she's super fucking cool. She's got the drip. She's got style. She's got swag. Dawn of the Abzan is white, black, green for a human warrior 3/3 with trample. So hey, that's all fine and good. Whenever Felothar enters or attacks, thanks Titan templating, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. Okay. So Hero's Blade on 2, Felothar on 3. We're not sacking the Hero's Blade, but there is never not a time where she's getting in on the action and putting +1 counters on stuff. You'll always have an opportunity to have that decision to sack that non-land and start distributing counters, especially when she enters on 3s. So I don't know. She seems pretty neat. She's got built-in trample. Being a 6/5 is pretty good. Leading the army, leading the charge, and maybe even becoming a 7/6 after that sacrifice trigger the first time. So
that
pretty
seems
good.
Real good.
So yeah, I expect to see either Felothar on battlefields in the near future, because the pre-con version and this version are both pretty strong.
Yeah, for sure, Zeus. We also got confirmation in the lore that Felothar is transgender, so shout out to the dolls. I will be seeing a lot of Abzan, +1/+1 counters decks in the future from them, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, sorry, Mike. Other people are not afraid of putting +1 counters on their stuff. We'll be talking a lot about some crazy stuff you can get up to. All right, last one. Elsha Threefold Master. This is from the Jeskai Precon. We got blue, red, white for a Jin Monk 1/1. Trample Prowess. Already off to a great start.
Yeah, Trample Prowess I'm already in. You don't have to make any other justifications for it.
But wait, there's more. Whenever Elsha deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with Prowess.
Oh, it's free real estate.
What the fuck? So, anyway, get your 4/3 in there. Find ways to give Elsha haste and just go to town, make a bunch of other monks, and just absolutely annihilate your opponents with overwhelming value.
Yup.
So yeah, Tarkir Dragonstorm looking pretty good on the legendary creature / Hero's Blade synergy front. Unsurprising considering I'm still so upset they didn't get Hero's Blade in there, but
we did get that new knife that's kind of Hero's Blade adjacent, so I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, that one gives you hexproof from the color?
I don't remember the text on it, besides its equipability is reduced by the number of colors that you are, which is extremely cool for my tendency for liking 3-color legendary creatures.
Yeah. So, looks pretty good. Can't really complain too much. We'll be hoping to get a copy of that soon. All right. Let's go right into comments then. Simple, straight to the point. Uncharismatic Bard, back again. Great episode. Filled up my work morning, lol. Love the Tarkir hype. Absolutely. What are we here to do? I'm here for Teamer all the way. Love the soapbox as well. Definitely the vibes the world needs. Gonna take that to heart. Thanks for the content. And thanks for catching up.
Hell yeah.
And now you have to wait.
Congratulations on it. Up next, we've got Laura5030 who says, wow, Faces of the Past looks dope AF. Thank you for highlighting it. It fits amazingly with several decks I have, and I don't think I would ever find it on my own. Heart emoji. I agree about Dracogenesis, but the bigger flavor fail, in my opinion, is Call the Spirit Dragons. It's very subjective, so I understand if people disagree, but it just feels weak as a win con for Dragon Typo. It could have been something like, if you put +1/+1 counters on 5 dragons this way, all your dragons get plus a lot and a lot of keywords, which is basically you win, but allows for a big splashy combat win, which is much more suitable for dragons flavor-wise than just you have 5 different colored dragons you win. I mean, even the event that's referenced by the card wasn't just the clans getting spirit dragons and suddenly being freed. Old dragons weren't like, oh, they have 5 dragons of different colors, I guess I'll just leave. They lost their battle because new dragons were more powerful and made the clans more powerful.
Yeah. Laura continued with a follow-up comment after that.
Okay. Also, I'm not a fan of hat set / not magic critique, but I find it even more dubious when it comes to Edge of Eternities. Magic was always sci fantasy. Just because this one leans more into the sci part doesn't make it any less magic. There's so many valid things to critique, and I'm just tired of all the negativity being focused on pure aesthetics of some specific sets. Hell yeah, fam.
As I've gone on record saying, I just find that even with the quote-unquote gimmick sets of yesteryear, they still have the typical Magic flavor, and it shows in the artwork and in the gameplay, so I feel as if we don't lose a whole lot when we do insert hat gimmick set here, but Edge of Eternities doesn't feel like that. And just back to the Call to Spirit Dragons, that was a card that I also don't care for in the same vein as Dracogenesis. Just, it's another Winmore 5-color card that you'll see in your Dragon or Tiamat decks,
Yeah.
So, as what it is, I think someone opened that at the Dragonstorm pre-release I went to last weekend, and they jammed 5-color. They're like, yep, I'm doing it. I have to do it. And I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, check out all of these Sagu Wildling dragons where you can search for a basic land and put into your hand. I'm like, you might be able to do it. Okay.
Yeah, I respect the hustle. I think they can actually do it. How did it end up for them?
I have no idea because I was only keeping track of myself and Joel and his kid when we went.
Understandable.
But yeah, Call of Spirit Dragons, what a card. Everyone's like, oh, does that mean Coalition Victory is going to be unbanned? I'm like, that is not the same thing. It's not to me. It's not the same thing. It's similar, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, those don't have anything to do with each other, IMO.
Yeah. I do remember hearing everyone was wondering why they're not doing the ban announcements at the same time as the regular BNR announcements that they do for other constructed formats, but it's already been on a different timetable, so we won't be hearing anything until I think at the end of the month, in a few weeks. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that when that happens. Not too worried about that. All right, Benoit. Quoting Mike.
Says, oh, I love to lie, and that's why I start every episode like that. Lol.
The only Magic the Gathering podcast ever of all time. What a guy. I love Mike. He's so funny.
And I know a person who runs Surprise and Scary in a Malcolm deck. Wild, I also know a person like that, too. Let's go check in with that guy in the Smoking Mids dimension.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, go Shu. We'll see you in a bit.
Hell yeah.
It's that time again to go check in with Benoit and Quinn in the Smoking Mids dimension. You know what's good? Smoking Mids with friends. Let's get to it. Welcome once again to Smoking Mids, the show where we smoke mids. Quinn, can I get a little philosophical with you for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, but I then completely forgot the philosophical thing that I wanted to talk about. But you know what I do want to talk about?
Yeah, what do we want to talk about?
I want to talk about a deck that I've been building and some of my favorite, 20-cent bargain bin cards in it.
Oh, hell yeah, let them rip.
So, you probably know, because you and I, we've known each other for several years, and you've seen, dozens of my decks over the years. One of the first pre-release events that I went to when I got back into Magic was Theros Beyond Death, and I opened the Red Legend Perforos Bronze Blooded.
Oh,
this
sick.
man is a sneak attack in the command zone, with the caveat that you have red or artifact creatures. So no Eldrazi, no, nothing too crazy. There is a natural friction between Perforos and what appears to be the design team at Wizards of the Coast. Because they've decided that, the majority of the way that they're red get card is by exiling it off the top of your library, and Perforos specifically says, from your hand.
Yeah.
So I am always looking for ways to put cards in my hands. If you were attentive last week, gamers, what is best in life? Swinging with creatures and putting some cards in your hand. Perforos loves swinging creatures, but how do I put the cards in my hand? Horn of the Mark.
Oh, shit.
Horn of the Mark is a 2-mana legendary artifact from Lord of the Rings. I got my widescreen for under $1. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I'm putting the tinfoil hat on. At the beginning, I was like, can I get philosophical? Nope, we are getting conspiratorial. I put the tinfoil hat on. I think that this is better than just straight drawing a card.
Holy shit.
I like this more. The trigger works so seamlessly with the payoff, because if you're building your deck around attacking with 2 or more creatures, what kind of card do you want to be drawing?
Shit, dude, you're so right. I just want to see the next creature.
I want more creatures. Especially in a deck like Perforos, where I'm like, every creature I have is a potential combat trick. Every creature I have is potentially a secret surprise I can launch at my opponents. And if I draw a land, it's the mono red curse. You draw a mountain anytime you need anything but a mountain. Any sort of filtration is nice.
So true.
It's been slow going, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm actually rebuilding Perforos. It was a deck I had years ago, and I tore it apart, and I'm rebuilding it specifically because I was like, I wonder how many ways mono red can put cards in my hand, which is where they belong. And for 1 in a red, what has put so many cards in my hand?
Oh shit, please tell me this is connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots!
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go! This card is criminally underrated.
Holy shit, that card owns, yeah.
I feel like I am, running down the street screaming like a crazed person whenever I talk about this card, because I feel the need within me to be the 11 in the room for this card, because I just don't see anyone else playing it or talking about playing it or talking about how incredible it is. It is an enchantment for 1 in a black. Whenever creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. Sure, whatever. It's a mystery card. You don't know what it is. 1 in a red, discard your hand, sacrifice connecting the dots. Put all cards exiled with connecting the dots into their owner's hands.
This shit has put so many cards into my hand in just any generic turn sideways deck. I'm putting cards, I'm tucking them away 2 or 3 at a time over the course of several turns, starting at turn 2 usually when I play this on Arena at least. And by the time my hand is empty and I need to crack the connecting the dots, I'm putting 9 cards in my hand. I'm having to discard to hand size.
I'm putting crazy cards in my hand, and Perforos is not the only deck that I have this. I basically put connecting the dots in any red deck.
and like red adjacent deck at this point. Like if you swing with creatures, it's 2 mana. It's 2 mana. Wheel of Fortune is 3 mana, and people are out here playing it. Wheel of Misfortune is 3 mana, people are out here playing it. There are wheels that are more than 3 mana that people are playing. Which is not, I'm not hating on more than 3 mana wheels. Honestly, that one from Midnight Hunt Commander or Crimson Vow Commander.
Oh, dude, Imposing Grandeur?
Imposing
Grandeur? That is some prime Magic the Gathering right there.
Imposing Grandeur goes insane. Connecting the Dots goes insane. I've never put Connecting the Dots into the graveyard without having to go to clean up the next step. It's like 9 cards. It's like 12 cards. There's almost never a point, especially in a deck that's so quick to spend resources, like Mono Red often is, where the proposition isn't like, oh, I'll get rid of 1 to 2 cards in my hand to pick up 11 cards?
God, that's so bananas. I gotta play more of that.
Everybody's gotta play more Connecting the Dots!
You're so right. I would love to see more of that in the wild. I'm going to do more Connecting the Dots posting, and we'll see if that picks up. Because it does feel incredible to just put more cards in your hand. And if they get exiled for good because somebody blows up your Connecting the Dots, first off, sweet 2-mana Spellskite, they didn't blow up your bomb that you're attacking with. And secondly, it's just like those cards were at the bottom of your library then. It didn't matter. Like, you weren't going to see them this game anyway. So it's whatever.
It's whatever. But enough about Perforos. We'll probably be back on Perforos at some point in the future, but enough about my Perforos in this moment, right this moment. Tell me about some mids while I desperately try and reconnect with the 5 minutes ago me that had something philosophical to ask you.
All right. So I've been really into squeezing a little bit more value out of my techie value guys as of late. And one of the coolest cards that I found that does that is Curse Cloth Wrappings. It's an artifact for 2 black from either drift. Zombies you control get +1/+1, and tap target creature card in your graveyard gains Embalm until end of turn. The Embalm cost is equal to its mana cost. You exile that card, pay the Embalm cost, and you make a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie in addition to its other types and doesn't have a mana cost, and Embalm only is a sorcery. So I'm on like turn 1 or whatever, playing my little guy that enters and draws a card, and then I'm chump blocking with it, and then later I'm casting Curse Cloth Wrappings, I'm tapping it to give the guy Embalm, I'm activating the Embalm ability, I'm bringing it back from the graveyard essentially, and then it's back to draw me another card, do another chump block, and if I'm playing Ketramos, then the exiling the thing from my graveyard triggers and draws me another card. And all of that feels like I'm squeezing every last drop out of that value, and you kind of have to, because they're wilding out there, gamers.
This show is Mother Nature returning to correct the balance. Y'all been playing with too much fire. Y'all been coming to the tables with too much smoke. Get back to bracket 4. We're here to tell you to reconnect with, like, Commander when it was a format where you'd put a 4/4 down when you weren't supposed to, and you'd get excited about that.
Oh, man.
Play some Curse Cloth Wrappings. You know, if you're... Hello, nasty readers. I know you're out there. I know that some of you listening are nasty evil, and you're like, I don't want to play nice. I don't want to smoke mids. You'll never make me smoke anything except the dankest shit. Do you know who else likes Curse Cloth Wrappings?
Oh, please continue.
Sir Conrad.
Hey, yo.
This is a Sir Conrad trigger generating machine.
Oh shit, you're so right. Your guy dies, trigger Conrad, you activate Curse Cloth Wrappings and Embalm it, trigger Conrad, leaves your graveyard. Whew.
The guy dies again, trigger Conrad.
Fuck. Hell yeah, I'm so in. I hadn't even thought of that as like a way to just like put a bunch of Conrad triggers on the stack, but it absolutely does.
It is 1000% a way to put Rude. And, like, you know, like you said with Ketramos, there are a surprising number of cards these days that care about cards leaving the graveyard. You got Tormod, you got the pirate version of Tormod that they made in Ixalan, you got the Desecrated Tomb, from OG Ixalan. Desecrated Tomb is almost a card I'm afraid to talk about with you because it's maybe one of my white whales.
Yeah.
I have a large box of cards sitting right beside me on the floor, and it's a bunch of bulk rares. In my bulk rare box, in the section that I divided by D, is 6 copies of Desecrated Tomb. I believe in this card so much. Maybe too much, arguably, but WotC keeps printing incredible payoffs for cards leaving the graveyard. So, like, some of you may not know who I am and may not know that years ago I was, like, on the rooftops banging about mono-white life gain payoffs. And they happened.
Yeah, things have definitely come a long way since you were hollering about that.
You can build entire decks to just do all sorts of triggered things for gaining an amount of life. Like, we are seeing the leave the graveyard sun rise. We are seeing exile cards out of your own graveyard for value. We're seeing that sun rise again. We're going back to Tarkir. We might even see Delve. We probably won't see Delve. Dude. They've probably learned their lesson.
We could maybe see precisely one card with Delve, just like we have precisely one card with Storm.
Yeah. We might see a little bit of new Delve support in the like Commander precons.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Or maybe they do it like they put fake Delve on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fucking, what is that blue skull thing from one of the D&D sets that you can cast from your graveyard with fake Delve?
I want to say, like, it's something Lich?
Demi-Lich.
Demi-Lich.
Yes, Aether Lich is a deck.
I honestly love Delve. I have a few Delve surprises in a deck I've been brewing that I can't talk much about. But MagicCon Chicago was recently. Dating ourselves here. I guess it wasn't that recently. It was a little bit ago, but, you know, the FOMO memories live forever. There was an unknown event card you may be familiar with.
Yes.
That they revealed called the Actualizer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a podcast where I talk about the Actualizer very much, but I will say that the Actualizer is a card about fooling your opponents, and a really great way to fool your opponents is with Delve costs, because I can be like, it's a 2/2 zombie, and it costs 11.
And I'm like, you're bullshitting. There's no way that exists. You're fucking lying about the mana value. And you'll be like, actually, I'm not. And you'll twirl your mustache and I'll take 3.
Yeah, the payoff, you know, here on Smoking Mints, the show where we smoke mints, the payoff is actually not particularly high for lying to you. But you know what does have a high
experience, though. That's what's important.
I want to talk briefly about a card that you got me on that is, like, it pays insane dividends, because I know so many of you out there are nasty, greedy gamers.
All right, I have no idea. Continue.
I picked this up for 39 cents in widescreen, something you gotta know about me. If I can get the card in widescreen, I'm gonna get the card in widescreen.
Same, so true, bestie.
2 in a red for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature has, whenever this creature attacks, it deals X damage to defending player, where X is the number of cards in their hand.
Oh, man, this is
Unquenchable Fury is an incredible aura from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, I think specifically the Commander products.
Mm-hmm. I was in the Chishiro precon. Oh, like, man. What a card. That shit is delicious. It's delectable. The perfect flavor. The tears of their agony. It's so good. Shouldn't have drawn all those fucking cards.
You shouldn't have played that Reliquary Tower. Come down to 7 like the rest of us or die.
You did not need a Reliquary Tower. Oh, man. The other day I had 23 cards in hand and was just thinking, man, if somebody had a Runeflare Trap, I would just be dead right now.
if I was being attacked with an unquenchable fury, I would simply die. Is a thing that I need more blue players to go to sleep thinking about.
Oh, man, you're so right. We got to play more of that. I play it in Owling Mine decks specifically because I can force the issue of having cards in your hand. But I can absolutely just fucking put that in a deck because I'm killing people with Balor's attack trigger that Rune Flare traps people. Like, if that's working, then it can absolutely work with the Unquenchable Fury.
My favorite part, maybe my favorite part about Unquenchable Fury, though, is that it is like the long lost sister of a cycle of cards from Urza's block.
Yeah, it's got that templating at the bottom of the card that says it never really dies.
You know, you might be thinking, why are the two of you so pressed about an aura? Why are you here extolling the virtues of a thing that just falls off my creature when it dies? Because when it goes to the graveyard, you put it back in your hand.
Yeah, that's right, gamers. It's got Rancor templating.
The Fury is unquenchable.
I will absolutely be lasering you the second I find another expendable body to throw into the fray. What a card.
Just don't play Reliquary Tower. Just accept 7 cards. Gamers, you should be able to identify your game plan's 7 most needed cards in any one given moment.
You know what? Maybe that's their homework, Lamau.
Maybe that's your homework. Before we give you your homework, though, we have a piece of guest mail.
We do?
We do. This comes from a Cole, a Bloodric guy on Bluesky. I don't know who this guy is, but, you know, listen, we can respect a mid-smoker out here, and anyone who's decided to make their entire identity about Bloodric is a certified mid-smoker.
100%. I think we're mutuals. I think I've seen him around.
He did his homework. So, cheers. Thank you. We love it when people do their homework. He read through March of the Machine Aftermath, and he came to us with Death Rattle Oni.
Oh, fuck.
6 and a black, which does not sound like a lot of... doesn't sound like a great number that you want necessarily for a Demon Spirit with Flash. But it costs 2 less for every creature that has died this turn. So, you know, you want to deploy it after a board wipe, or maybe you want to deploy it after an attack. Because the next line of text says, when Death Rattle Oni enters the battlefield, destroy all other creatures that were dealt damage this turn.
Yeah, so if you're the kind of gamer who's into 3 damage sweepers to really just like clear up all those tokens, you can cast one of those and then follow up with your Death Rattle Oni to just like pick off the rest of them. Or if you're a gamer who likes to go to combat, which, hey, hi, you can do some attackies and then people think that they're safe on blocks, so they block your 1/1 goblin or whatever. You get your death triggers and then you cast your Death Rattle Oni. And that block that you thought was safe is actually fatal.
Nothing looks tastier to someone with a board of like huge beaters than like you and your sad chump blockers. They're like, oh, they're gonna die. I'm gonna eat them all. They don't know by eating them all, I'm making their hidden Death Rattle Oni cost a black. I'm going to lose all of my attackers because I thought I was a big bully.
The flash on that is crucial. Magic the Gathering is a game of hidden information, and this really lets you take advantage of that. You can do that on like somebody else's turn and on like a combat that's not even any of your fucking business.
You don't even have to play it on your combat. You can just be kind of a goblin on someone else's turn.
Oh, man.
Listen, Cole, I don't know where you are out there, but congratulations. You are a certified mid-smoker.
100%. I'm putting my approval stamp on that one.
Certified mid-smoker number 1, in fact. But remember, everyone, do your homework. Come give us some mail. Give us a call. Leave us a message. Say what mids you've been smoking. before we let him go, Quinn, what is your wisdom for the end of this episode?
My wisdom for the end of this episode is leaning a little bit heavier on a portion of what we discussed last week, but we're gonna zero in on this part in particular, and it's that combat is just so fucking important. Turning guys sideways is so emotionally and spiritually meaningful to me, and I think that a lot of you can also learn and grow a lot from sharing in that experience with me. And so I ask that you try and go to combat. Thanks, gamers.
Combat, it's like karate. You could go to a karate tournament with a gun and you'd win the karate tournament. That's not why you should be at the karate tournament. And like any combo player, you should be arrested immediately. Go to the karate tournament to do the karate. Take your beats, give your beats. You're going to play the game with the creatures, throw down with some creatures. It's good for you.
Yeah, put a Sword of Hearth and Home on that Esper Sentinel and turn it sideways. I want to see it.
Get that Esper Sentinel into the red! Let's fucking go! Alright, gamers. It's been lovely as always. We'll see you next time.
Later, gamers. And we're back.
Hey, Benoit, did you figure out that philosophical moment? I feel like you're still thinking about that to this day. Also, here's a roundabout thought that I'm bringing back because there was a point we were talking about your bat deck with
Zorline.
With Zorline. And you said that Desecrated Tomb is too mid for you. And then Benoit said that Desecrated Tomb is this white whale. And I think, hear me out, that a Zorline deck would be your solution, Benoit. But I'll have to hear what you have to think about that some other time. Maybe next Smoking Mids episode. I don't know. We'll find out. Content. What's up? What's going on?
Yeah,
what's happening?
Content. Man, I have just been playing Magic and listening to my regularly scheduled podcasts, the fucking Good Luck High Five, the Loading Ready Run, the Legendary Creature podcast, you know the ones, all of the ones. I'm listening to those. It's business as usual.
Speaking of Legendary Creature podcast and 7-hour podcast episodes, the guys did a Artifact Omnibus episode after fans were clamoring for a 6-hour Artifact episode for the last 5 years or so, like you said.
Yeah,
and
they make an offhanded joke about how they'll do basically whatever their patrons want them to, and then the patrons joke about a 6-hour Artifact episode, and then they're like, yeah, lol.
But what if, though?
Here we are, several years later. Your man has been hidden away in secret, chipping away at this marble statue, and dropped that on April 1st for everybody in their podcast feeds.
And I do recall, I do spy, and Empress Quinn was part of that episode.
Yeah, I got to be a part of that. We talked about equipment. We spent a bit of that discussing the Swords of X and Y and their, I guess, place in Commander these days.
Surprisingly still relevant.
Yeah. And yeah, just equipment and stuff you can do with them and ways to have fun with that.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Will, depending on the type of job you have, is definitely worth just listening to that during the day. But also breaking, and thankfully they added timestamps for each section. So if you do need to break it down per category of artifacts, including equipment, vehicles, artifact creatures, and so on, that is where you gotta go. and it's filled with guest appearances, jokes, and of course a serious breakdown of literally everything artifacts. So go check that out.
Yeah, it's truly one of the most comprehensive pieces of artifact-related content that I've seen in a while. That we're just like, this is where we're at right now. This is basically everything about artifacts through our like lens of experience. So here you go.
Yeah, the highs and the lows, and the I'm not sure about this category of artifacts, and then you have Empress Quinn kicking down the door. All right, let me tell you about equipment.
Hello, I would like to sell you knives.
Speaking of other podcasts, Cody and Laz are back with another episode of Brew Review. They were doing more of a catch-up episode because
dude, I listened to that. That episode ruled.
Just talk about, first of all, it nearly hit 2 hours, so love that. But also, considering how often they had something getting in their way of getting another episode out, it just felt good to just get back into the action with them.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff. Go check that out.
And then I hear you offered your voice in a video by Angry Green Jellybean about the prisoner's dilemma.
Yes. So Jellybean was getting an episode together where they wanted to talk about the card and the concept of the prisoner's dilemma that it's named off. Is named from. They specifically wanted a Canadian voice to do one of the quotes of like a doctor's. I think it's a Canadian doctor, I'm pretty sure, which is why they were asking about it. So I did the voiceover for a little bit here and there, or for the thing that comes up pretty early. The actual video is about kind of the sunk cost fallacy of offering choices to your opponents. Mm-hmm. Like what the prisoner's dilemma offers on top of other cards that are included, including the commander Malik Grim Manipulator, aka
is that Negan?
That's Negan, yeah.
I hate that guy.
2 red, white, and a black for a 4/3 human rogue. When Malik Grim Manipulator enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each secretly choose a creature that player controls. Then those choices are revealed, and that that player sacrifices the creatures. An opponent sacrifices a creature. You create a treasure token. There was a Cataclysmic Gearhulk on the list, so
Hissing.
I was a bit of a brain teaser video. I felt my brain melting the first time I tried listening to it, so I knew that I had to go back for a second go, because the minute that charts start coming up on a screen that involve numbers and choices, I'm like, all right, my brain too small for this. Need time to level up and come back to it. But again, it is interesting to see like social studies in psychology and game design going into an entire deck and the concept. So it's a good watch and a good listen, or preferably watch. I would recommend that much. So go check that out. And finally, I can't remember if I mentioned it last time, but it does feel pretty embarrassing to not only be a British Columbian native and finally be like, Loading Ready Run's Friday Night series is actually pretty fucking awesome. So I've been watching season 9 ever since their new episodes started coming out, and it's pretty freaking good. I do need to go back and watch the other ones.
Yeah, I haven't checked any of Friday Nights Out. I literally just watched the PPR and the Commander podcast or whatever from them. Tap Concede, that's the name. There we go, nailed it.
Yeah.
I should check that out.
So, there was an episode that they just did, not the recent one that just came out, but the one just before that, where it's a mystery spoof, and everything is about puns, about magic, and all this other stuff, and it's really creative, super witty. You have to be locked in to know what the fuck they're talking about, and everything is just comedy of errors the entire way through. So, yeah, go check it out. There are a bunch of crazy, cool, talented people. And yeah, Magic content. It's a great thing when you're able to enjoy it from everywhere.
Swag.
All right. We're zooming through this pretty dang quick. Let's go into Brews Off the Shelf.
Hell yeah. What you got for me?
Well, I got a lot here. But let's try to break it down. It's Dragonstorm season, and you know what that means. It is time to not make a brand new deck. It's actually time to fiddle with other decks. So I'm going to go skim over the decks that I recently modified with some cards, and then kind of, go over the why and what. But hey, Dragonstorm's also got a lot of cool utility stuff, so I had to fill the decks with utility stuff. Captain Ripley Vance got a functional sort of reprint of Reckless Charge, which is Wild Ride and Reckless Charge both read pay 1 red, target creature gets +3/+0 and haste until end of turn. So that goes into Captain Ripley Vance. So I get to punch people in the face super duper hard. But Reckless Charge has flashback for 2 in a red, and Wild Ride has the new mechanic Harmonize for 4 in a red. So I just pump Vance really hard and maybe use the cards for the second and or third activation of her. So pretty not very surprising that I was going to be adding those.
Yeah, those sound like good additions there. That reminds me of the fucking Wild Hunger from one of the early Innistrad sets that I use in Calamax, just because I can get 2 shots out of it because it's got the flashback cost.
Yeah, exactly. God, I think I have a foil copy of Wild Hunger tucked away somewhere. But again, the what you least expect, and especially for Vance, where my whole entire goal is to see if I could just absolutely fucking body someone. And I've done that before. Joe will go on record. He did not get to his 4th turn.
Shit.
I just said, but what if I just hit you for, 28 commander damage? And he said, you're a fucking dickhead. I'm like, I know. I also think I managed to put Bulk Up in there, which doubles target creature's power with flashback for 6.
That sounds good.
So yeah, pretty good. Other updates for Yasova Dragonclaw is Sear Slicer Goblin.
The Sear Slicer mentioned.
Frostcliff Siege, which is one of the new sieges. Oh my god, wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
We got a super sick Boros Siege. It finally fucking happened. My god. Yeah. We're like, the rest of Tarkir came out from the last episode. What happened? Nothing else fucking matters but that siege.
Oh, you. All right, tell the people about it.
Okay, all right. So, let me just find it really quick, because you think I'd have it ready to go. It's like the super most awesome thing in the world.
No, it just came up in your mind as you were talking about these things. It's okay. Fine, we get it.
Windcrag Siege is 1 red and a white for an enchantment. When it enters, choose Mardu or Jeskai. Mardu says if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Hello, Ishin 2.0. Thank you very much.
And you don't even have to play Mardu to get it. You can just play Boros.
The other half of that is Jeskai at the beginning of your upkeep. Create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It gains lifelink and haste until end of turn.
A lot of people were saying that this card has 1 mode, and it's only the extra abilities mode.
And incorrect buzzer noises.
Yeah, exactly. Both of these have incredibly strong applications. I think that you can see both modes played.
This is a Bloodric playable card. It is not something that was added to the Bloodric deck recently. But yeah, both modes are actually still pretty relevant. I will, however, just being that filthy Ishin player and put it in the Ishin 2 Heavens 1 deck.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the one that I play that's confined to MTGO, and I have an Aurelia Goblins deck that we're hammering out, and I think that could go in there.
Yeah, pretty sure. So speaking of sieges, putting Frostcliff Siege in Yasova Dragonclaw, I took out Temur Ascendancy because Frostcliff Siege says choose Jeskai or Temur. Jeskai is whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. So attack one player, get one card. Attack three players, get three cards. Pretty good. And Temur says creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample and haste. Fucking what?
Hell yeah, dude.
Strong. Busted. Awesome. I also added Bottomless Pool and Locker Room to not just Yasova, but also to Piper Wright, because
I think that those are both good. Anything that's like draw cards is interesting, and then the other half being the unsummoned, dude, you're playing more removal.
Yeah. Captain Howler got Winter Night Stories and Glacial Dragon Hunt. And I also found a spare Invisible Stalker that I could put into the deck.
Okay, tell me about Winter Night Stories.
So, Winter Night Stories, they're both sorcery cards, and they both have Harmonize. But Winter, fuck, I keep wanting to say Neverwinter, and I know that is just not what the thing is fucking called. All right.
Yeah.
Winter Night Stories, 2 and a blue for sorcery, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card with Harmonize for 4 and a blue, which I don't think I really explained what Harmonize was. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its Harmonize cost. You may tap a creature you control to reduce this cost by X, where X is its power, then exile this spell. So it's flashback, but your creature can help pony up to pay for the second cost.
Okay. No, I'm extremely into this for Captain Howler. You're so right.
Yeah. Hello. Come on. Who do you think I am here? Glacial Dragon Hunt. That one might be a little bit of a harder sell. Blue and a red, draw a card, then you may discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, Glacial Dragon Hunt deals 3 damage to target creature with an Harmonize of 4 blue and a red. So, I don't know. I like getting damage in where needed. So this is just a burn spell.
This is reminding me a lot of Broadside Barrage from Aether Drift, which is
Yep.
a card that I unexpectedly really appreciate. So I think another instance of that's basically like the same thing, but in reverse.
It's not 5 damage, but it does still do the trick when you need that 3 damage somewhere.
Yeah, I think 3 damage is enough in a lot of cases. 5 is excellent, but you're paying 1 more for it. It doesn't have the Harmonize. Like, there's
it's instant speed versus sorcery speed of the Glacial Dragon Hunt, too. So there is pros and cons.
There's a lot of, yeah.
Obviously, run both, so we're all good there.
Yeah, I mean, I probably will.
Yeah, Quende got Anafenza Unyielding Legacy because I just needed more first strike flash creatures that will gain double strike when they enter, because that is extremely good and cool.
Mm-hmm.
As previously mentioned, Piper Wright got Bottomless Pool Locker Room, and I also was like, hey, why did I not have a copy of Assassin Gauntlet in this deck? That seems really good to put in here.
Yeah, that's an extremely cool Magic the Gathering card.
This was also a reminder from Rebel Lily, who I didn't mention in the content section, but she made a video where she's like, you too can make any of your blue commander decks an assassin deck, and this is what you do. And she proposed a 15 card Assassin's Creed themed cards package that you can put in, which also included Assassin Gauntlet. Shocker. But there was a lot of cool things in there that's just like, hey, let's just tap down your stuff, get that out of here. Love doing that. And finally,
yeah, you do.
and finally, a card that I never really knew about because it's an old card. Thran Turbine, which is a 1-mana artifact. During your upkeep, you may add 2 colorless. You can't spend this mana to cast spells, so I guess I'll just use that 2 mana to crack a clue token.
Yeah, that seems good. That's like the original Power Stone mana.
Yeah.
And it's Thran too, so like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Urza's Saga 1998. Old card.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I got a other bunch of things to talk about here, but I think I'll head over to you for the next little bit.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Marty Reanimator deck.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
All right. Needed to pull my list up, Lamau. So I was just like in the mind of I want to play Marty Reanimator. I hadn't given that a shot yet. So I'm scrolling through EDH Rec, seeing their like suggested commanders for that, and one of them that they recommend is Kalia Zenith Seeker. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And Kalia's Secret Lair just came out, basically. Like, it's not like officially the Kalia Secret Lair, but they're like, there's an angel and a dragon and Kalia, and you're very like encouraged to play all of these cards together. So
what a bunch of cool artwork that they did for that one, and it just as quickly had so many fucking issues go on for that entire Secret Lair.
Yeah, Abigail Larson's art is incredible. I'm a huge fan of her work, and I absolutely wish I could have gotten my hands on one of these. Oh, we'll just sigh wistfully and play this digitally, and it'll be fine. So we go to the like Kalia Zenith Seeker section, and I'm looking to like play something, I guess, like with a certain degree of heat to it. So on the buttons on EDH Rec, you can just push to include 1 to 3 game changers, and sort of like, I would like to guarantee that this thing prints out a bracket 3 deck, and we made it do the thing. And then we did the same thing that we did with Ketchamus, basically. Like, here's this example to follow, and then here's all of the cards that I want to play from this, and all of the cards that I can't fucking stand we're not going to put in, and the cards that I do want to play we'll put in. And we end up with this list that is something that I like and enjoy and can play. Yeah, we basically just like melted that shit down and reforged it into something that was more fit for me.
Awesome. Cool.
So we have Razaketh the Foul-Blooded, which is not a thing that I would have thought to include in the deck because he's a wild fucking strong Magic the Gathering card. But the metagame out there is such that everybody's playing cards like Razaketh, so he's much more appropriate there than he is in the like mid-smokers dimension. We also have Gisela, Blade of Goldnight, just another one of those, like, I never think about this card.
I do.
Yeah.
This card is fucking awesome.
She is very awesome. You are correct in that. We've got the Twisted Sisters, of course, Bruna and Gisela. They meld into Brisella, Voice of Nightmares, who's just an absolute monstrosity. Shout out to Andy from LCP, who's got the mono white angel reanimator deck with Bruna in the command zone,
that
specifically
melted
to
our
make the
faces
meld
off.
happen.
Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Brisella, what a card, eh?
Yeah, when you're on, when it, it's the, oh man, this is super awesome when you're the one piloting it and you're on the receiving end of it and you're like, sorry, can you, what was that second line of text? Your opponents can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. Oh shit.
There's plenty of big, expensive mana, big expensive mana interaction that you can use to kill Brisella that can be cost reduced. The poster child for this that I'm thinking of is Baleful Mastery, which is 4 mana on the like front phase, but it's got the student discount from Strixhaven, so you can spend 1 and a black to cast that for cheaper and give somebody else a card. And it exiles target creature or planeswalker. So you can point that at Brisella and make her go away. There's a bunch of other spells that are formatted similarly, like Lethal Scheme or Pylon, that are like convoke kill spells. You can absolutely answer her. We just didn't fucking have a damn thing to say about it in the moment.
something, how come you don't have any removal? Well, the commander environments in shambles, it's just,
yeah,
angel tax.
Sometimes you just don't top deck perfectly and you can't get rid of Brisella, Voice of Nightmares, and then you die.
It's like, I would accept a board wipe if it was there, but that shit was just not happening.
Yeah, we just didn't have anything.
Them's the breaks.
It'd be like that. Yeah.
Them's the breaks.
So yeah, I'm trying to do that to other people. So we've got that. We've got my Love Angel of the Ruins. We have Drakuseth, Maw of Flames, my queen. We have a Herald of Eternal Dawn. Not a card that I would normally think to put in a deck, but I have it on MTGO because we opened it in Limited, and we're just like, all right, well, you got to play this somewhere, so we'll put it in this deck. We have a Sarah's Emissary because that card fucking rules.
Yeah, that card just can pretty much single-handedly win you the game.
Yeah, it'll solo an entire table if you pick protection from creatures and then have something else to ensure that she doesn't die to instants and sorceries. Like, then you just win. Runescarred Demon, not a card that I think to play with a lot because it searches my library, but again, we're out here on MTGO, we're doing whatever the fuck we want.
It's a demon
Avacyn, too. Angel of Hope. Yeah, it meets the requirements. But yeah, Avacyn, we've got her. Similarly, not a card I play in paper, a card that we will play out here because that's what the metagame is.
Yeah, MTGO, notoriously no mid-smoking there.
You can smoke a little bit of mids on occasion, and I have, but man, it is rough trying to find those games.
It's like, cool. I'm going to put this gun on the table, and your opponent say, cool, I am launching a tactical nuke to your location. You're just like, It is way easier to just build for bracket 3 and have those experiences out there. Yeah. A card that I actually do play in paper, though, Rhea Dawnbringer. She's a huge expensive angel, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Mm-hmm. I have that in my Hinata Jeskai Reanimator deck, and she does the same amount of work there that she does here. I love to see it. We got the Karmic Guide because it's an angel that reanimates. I can find it with Kalia when she enters. We're on Zenith Seeker specifically because when she enters the battlefield, she'll put angels, demons, and dragons into my hand, and yeah, she's the card advantage version, and not the I'm gonna just bust out my hand and pray that I don't get blown the fuck out.
We do have that one in the 99 though, of course.
Yeah, obviously, of course.
She fucking rules. I had a game where I had regular Zenith Seeker in the command zone and just didn't cast her because on turn 4 I was able to cast Kalia, and then we put a fucking I think Demon Lord Belzenlock, yeah, we put him into play with her trigger and drew some cards, and then it was just like, okay, cool, I can do Razaketh next turn, and then they try and answer one of the things, and I'm like, okay, I'll sacrifice Demon Lord Belzenlock, we'll find whatever we need with Razaketh's ability. Like, it's just not fair.
No, but this is Kalia we're talking about, so...
Yeah, the shit ruled. I wanted to try out Coiling Rebirth, so yeah. I put that in this deck. I think that card is cool. I have a lot of legendaries in here, so it's maybe not as effective as it could be, but I do still have some stuff that enters the battlefield and has a thing that happens, so that'll be all right with that. It's probably better suited to the, like, Worm Coil Engine type reanimator decks, or like the if you're reanimating Gear Hulks.
Yeah, if you're just looking for the ETB, you don't really care about like the body's just the bonus. Like, yeah, Coiling Rebirth is like the card you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I've got a Living Death in here. I don't usually play that, but the homie Tate, Garbage in some circles, is a huge proponent of playing that card, so I'm like, all right, fine, we'll see what the fuck this shit is all about, and put it in my deck. Haven't gotten to cast it yet, but we'll see what it does when it shows up. I'm also on Funeral Room Awakening Hall because I have to do things my way. I mean, yeah,
I would expect nothing less from you. You're like, just gotta get my 8 mana version of reanimate all my stuff because that's just cool and good.
Yeah, that's just who we are as a person. Grim Captain's Locker, I think, is a card that is not getting played a whole lot. And in this case, it's particularly interesting because you can tap it to surveil one, and you can also tap it to give each creature in your graveyard escape for 3 and a black, and exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. So if I've been put in, like, angels, demons, and dragons, and also just other random bullshit, I can tap that and start just yeeting guys into play for 4 mana instead of whatever fuck huge casting costs they have. And we all know that cheating on mana costs is cool and good, and you should do it if you would like to win the game.
As we've noticed with recently banned in Modern Underworld Breach, Escape is very good. And even having it conditionally like this in the Grim Captain's Locker, giving your creatures basically flashback, is super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Does the job. Does what you need it to do.
I'm not on like 100% dragons in this deck. We have the pretty even mix of angels, demons, and dragons, but I do run Dragon Tempest because every creature that matters in this deck basically has flying. Yeah.
Fucking busted. What the fuck?
And so everyone's gonna have haste when they enter, which lets me just fucking go straight to combat. And that shit feels like an extra turn, actually. Like, if you don't have to wait to untap with your guy to attack, like, it feels like you're getting away with something. Haste is actually really strong.
You know what? I forgot to add Dragon Tempest to my narrative deck, so I think I'm gonna go find my I think I'm going to go find my foil one. There we go. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm sorry, you're what? Excuse me? Money bags?
Yeah, I got more than one copy of Dragon Tempest in my collection for undisclosed reasons I will not be going over.
Undisclosed reasons points to the sign that says I'm a horse girl for dragons.
That is our most... that is our new favorite quote to throw out literally every episode.
Anyway, I've got 3 game changers in this bitch because I'm allowed them. Wait, do I have 3? I think I only have 2. Oh,
yeah, I don't
2?
see another one. I just see Vampiric Tutor and Smothering Tithe.
I just have a fuck ton of tutors. That's probably the difference. Yeah. Okay. So I have Smothering Tithe and Vampiric Tutor. Yeah, those are the big ones. I also have just Gamble, Razakath, Vampiric Tutor, Varagoth, Bloodsky Sire, Hoarding Broodlord, Runescar Demon. Like, we're out here searching my fucking library. I'm finding whatever I need. That's a big portion of my card advantage package, actually. And then the other parts are just like Demon Lord Belzenlock and Speed Demon and Dragonhawk and
big score.
Yeah, I've got Big Score, Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, Thrilling Discovery. Like, we're out here, we're drawing our cards. I'm just not doing it as efficiently as other, like, methods.
The graveyard is your second hand. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's fine. I do have my greatest of all-time favorite room, Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber. It's so perfect in this deck. I get the... Like, I don't even have to unlock the Ritual Chamber. I just have demons. The other demon enchantment that I'm thinking about, Demonic Covenant, I would really like to have that in this deck, but I do not know what to cut for it. And I'm pretty sure Kalia can still put it into my hand because it's a Kindred Demon enchantment.
It's demon, yeah.
And she's not saying demon card, or demon creature card. She just says demon card.
Yeah, so... much to think about.
Yeah, much to think about, indeed. So, yeah, that's my Mardu Reanimator list. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, looking pretty good. I am happy to see Kalia Zenith Seeker in the command zone. Just, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, she's cool. I feel like I don't see her a whole lot. Do you know this card is like $11 apparently?
I'm not even remotely shocked about that. That card came out to a bit of an underwhelming reception, for what I remember when Core Z 2020 came out, and it still is card advantage in some of those popular card types in Mardu color combinations, so...
We got some banger legends from that set. That's where Omnath 3 came out, and Yarok the Desecrated.
Yep. We got the Elder Dragon Cycle renewal.
Oh, Kaikar Wind's Fury, I think, is from there too. Did they do just like all of the cons cycles have a legendary creature from there? I think that's what happened.
Let me think about that. I can't think. No, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. That was a while ago. I don't really remember too well. 2019? Yeah.
2020.
No, they're printed the year before their actual number.
Oh, yeah, the year 2019. The set is M20. Lol.
Yeah. But yeah, core sets always have something fly under the radar, and then years later you're like, what do you mean this card is not $5 or less?
Okay, yeah, we did actually. We had Kethis the Hidden Hand and Abzan, Kaikar Wind's Fury and Jeskai, Omnath Locus of the Royal and Temur, Kalia Zenith Seeker and Mardu, and Yarok the Desecrated and Sultai. And there's also
right.
Rien, Angel of Birth, and Naya.
Oh yeah, because that was the buy a box promo for the core set.
Oh, okay. I was not around for that. I did not know this.
The more you know.
We had, 5 monocolor legends. Okay, so we had 5 monocolor legends, 5 3-color legends. That's what happened on that set.
Yeah, they do, every once in a while they do something a little cool for core sets, and now they're like, here's what we're doing for core sets. We did Foundations, there's that. And you're like, cool. What are we doing for the summer? Final Fantasy. Oh, okay. Neato.
Yeah. Don't care, I'm hype. Also of note, those legendaries in the M20, the monocolor ones, they are the iconic creatures for that color. Attempsis is a Sphinx, there's a Dracuseth is a dragon, Gargos is a Hydra, Villas is a demon, and Saphara Sky's Blade is an angel.
Gargos was so fucked up.
That is a hell of a Magic the Gathering card. You do not get to have creatures if Gargos is allowed to cast spells.
I was on the receiving end of a Gargos deck when I was playing Ronus the Indomitable, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What if I kill your other stuff? I'm like, yeah, okay, here. Anyway, I gotta play my own Gargos. I'm like, oh.
Fuck. Now you get to see what you're doing to everybody else.
I know what crimes I'm committing.
All right, that's enough on that tangent. I think we've wrapped things up with this Mardu Reanimator list. Yeah, got the Demonic Covenant in the sideboard. One day I'll find the spot for you. All right, what do you have for me?
Well, this is a bit of a multi-tier thing, as I like to call the many crimes of Cole.
You've been getting up to some crime recently.
Yeah, I've been up to no good as usual. Truly in my villain era, I say, as other people are like, Cole, you're like a wet piece of paper compared to me being a villain, and which I say, yeah, but recently I've been up to no good. So let me have my moment here. So let's go through the list here. We got some games in recently. With some friends. We had a game with Andy of the Legendary Creature Podcast, and we had Cody, a brew review. We also had a game with Kristen, and we had a game with Mike, last episode's guest. To which some things happened, and some cool things were going on, and sometimes not so cool things were going on. So we'll go through the list here. The couple games we had with Kristen and Mike, I got to play my Megatron deck for the first one, and I got to play Andy Flash for the second one. Mike, I am so sorry.
Fucking Megatron.
As it turns out, having colorless mana be added to your mana pool for the damage that you're dealing to your opponents is pretty good. Like, he's like Neheb the Eternal and does that, and it's, yeah.
I feel like people are just not treating him the way that they treat Neheb the Eternal, and they should be treating him exactly the same the way that they treat Neheb the Eternal, which is, if Neheb shows up, you know he comes to fuck, okay? You need to be prepared for that.
I'm a sick fuck. I like a quick fuck. So, it's a combination of things. I think I may have brought unnecessary spice to the game, or I happen to have the god opening set of turns that allowed me to set up Megatron and just not be able to be stopped by you or Kristen or Mike. Mike, especially, was trying to play his extra upkeeps deck with his Doctor Who commanders. And just the thing about Megatron when he's on his vehicle side is if he just becomes a vehicle on everyone else's turns and they have creature removal, it just doesn't do shit.
Yeah, Megatron dodges a lot of fucking removal. It is pretty frustrating. And I was playing the fucking doctor who edited Grixis Precon. So, like, the removal density was there. It's just none of it fucking worked when it mattered.
I was truly just getting away with it, making a bunch of fucking mana, casting, having every single answer pretty much. And then heading to the end game where I'm like, cool, so I'm going to cast Molten Psyche while having the Roller Crusher ride out to double the damage as being dealt. And Mike's just like, man, I was already having a bad time, but this is just way over the edge. And it's kind of a communal scoop, but it was pretty brutal. I don't like being in those situations where you have just such an overwhelming advantage over other people. And I want to say, like, I consider this kind of like a bracket 3 deck. I don't know how well it sits in bracket 3 decks typically, because it doesn't have any game changers as far as I'm aware of, except, no, I take that back. I have an Ugin's Nexus in there, which is one of the reasons why I was up to no fucking good that game.
Yeah, you fucking sacrifice your Ugin's Nexus, make 6 colorless mana or whatever, and then take an extra turn. Like,
yeah, no, it was pretty bad. So, hoping the next time I get to bust this deck out, it will be with an appropriate pod, or people will just say, "Cool, I'm just gonna braid Megatron," and be like, "No, next time Optimus Prime." I really do like this deck, though. It's
15 counter spells or whatever, Felix 5 boots.
Okay, relax.
It's not actually 15 counter spells, but you know he's got the tinfoil hat the size of Texas.
Yep. So that was crime number 1 of just having obscenely strong board state from the get-go. To which then we go over to the game with Andy and Cody, and while Andy committed the ultimate sin of creating an Eldritch Angel fusion monster, I was spearheading it off with my Ocelot Pride and Aya of Alexandria combo of just... Aya of Alexandria was just a card that I really should have been on a lot sooner, but then Lenny's like, hey, check this out, and Aya's all over you. But then Ocelot Pride says, hey, yo, girl, I like the cut of your jib. How about we double up on everything you're doing? And they grab hands and power up to Super Saiyan and make a bunch of Assassin and Cat tokens. Cody did his part trying to keep that Ocelot Pride in check, but cats have 9 lives, motherfucker. And then it really didn't matter because then Andy is like, cool. So anyway, I cast Bruna and then I cast Gisela, and then we were like, oh, no.
Yep.
I did get an early Lauren Searing Light out, because how could I not do that?
It is your signature card. You did call it that. It was very funny.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, as usual, up to no good. Unrelated new additions to the Bloodric deck. I did add Sage of the Skies and Shocking Sharpshooter from Dragonstorm, and we're gonna go see how that works out in the long run. But Sage of the Skies is really cool, and also synergizes with Ocelot Pride. 2 and a white for a 2/3 human monk. When you cast a spell, if you've cast another spell this turn, copy this spell, and has flying and lifelink. And while token doublers like what am I thinking of? Normal token doublers don't trigger off of it because you're casting a copy and not creating a copy, but Ocelot Pride is able to duplicate the token copies afterwards. So, really does fit in the deck. That'll be super cool.
Yeah, free bodies are good.
Actual crimes that I am committing with Annie Flash, where I literally just target you with a curse.
Yeah, you do mechanically commit crimes in that deck.
I need to grab a Tempest Technique from the Jeskai precon, where it's just 4 mana storm, create all that glitters that many times, which could be pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, I think that has the potential to end a lot of games. I've been saying for years now that Enchantress decks are just storm decks with different payoffs, and that they could be considering Tendrils of Agony, and this is basically the same thing. Wizards is like, yeah, Enchantress decks are storm decks.
Yeah. I got to put Hot Pursuit in Anti-Flash, mostly because I sometimes need to find a way to win the game when I get the 1v1, and I do have stuff like Sound the Drums and Nilly Borka to work off of that stuff. So here's hoping that deck continues to be popular to people because they just find it interesting. And it is. It's very cool.
It is interesting.
And my last crime, well, not my last, 2 different times I was committing crimes with my Radu and Hagadoon deck. So, a couple, like 2 or 3 Saturdays ago, I got to Ultimate Kaito when we were playing over on MTG Lexicon.
You sure fucking did.
And I got to do the thing that, as far as I'm aware, you have not been able to do yet with Kaito Cunning Infiltrator.
I have not altered that Kaito yet, correct.
So, the thing to note here about Kaito being that whenever a player you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito, with -9 being you get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. And that was fucking nutty because I also had Mondrak out at the same time. So I was truly just doing some bullshit.
Yep, indeed.
Fucking Brandon playing telepathy from the word go was so fucking annoying that entire game. And I got so salty because I'm like, no, my well-earned victory. I just ultimated an uninteractable emblem. Like, relax. I still got to do fun, stupid shit. And then between that game and the game that I ended up playing over on Wumbo Wednesday over on MTG Lexicon, I got to flip Withengar again, which is such a cool fucking thing to do. But most people usually just end up killing it. Elbrus the Binding Blade is a 7-mana legendary artifact equipment where the equipped creature gets +1/+0 with an equip for 1. Whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach Elbrus, then transform it into Withengar Unbound, a demon that's a 13/13 with Flying, Intimidate, and Trample. And whenever a player loses the game, put 13+1 counters on Withengar Unbound, which is just absolute
God,
insanity.
what a fucking cool card.
Like, they were like, hey, Dark Ascension, how do we give this set the sauce? How about a 7-mana equipment that turns into a 13/13 demon? And everyone's like,
how about we print a demon who's so powerful we have to seal its power behind the backside of a piece of cardboard that's depicting a very powerful ceremonial knife? Like, bruh, nobody's doing it like Withengar.
No. And you know, Ormondal, to his credit, he is also in the deck in Westvale Abbey, but it's just not the same.
That one's a little different. I think that is also sick as fuck, though, that they sealed the power of this demon behind this land that requires 5 lives.
Yeah, no. The deck happened by making a bunch of assassin tokens. I could also happen to flip Westvale Abbey into Ormondal while also finding a way to flip into Withengar, being like, yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do now? And they're like, I don't know, board wipe. And you're like, okay, well, Ormondal sticks around at least, but
I've had both of them on the board at the same time in that Secret Lair double-faced cards precon that they printed a while back.
Yeah,
and let me tell you, you do feel fucking powerful.
Yeah, no kidding. What a cool premise. Thanks, Innistrad. But yeah, so let's continue with the crimes of, well, I went to Wumbo Wednesdays, and Dale, poor Dale, finally getting back in the hot seat. He's just playing Glarb Frogs. And he's like,
your man is literally trying to play Frog Typal, and y'all are out here throwing removal at his Psychic Frog when there are Avengers level threats in other directions.
Survived everything until like a board wipe hit, but we literally could not target the frog. Yeah, no, it was not. And then everyone's like, can I target your commander yet? I'm like, no, because Swiftfoot Boots, or he re-entered, and or fuck off. And then I was hitting people with Radin Hagadoon and a skeleton key, to which
and
then
you kept getting to replay the skeleton key every turn. You were drawing like 5 cards a turn off this bullshit, and people are just like losing the game to your card advantage.
I would like to so fucking stupid. So the card says that you when the equipped creature deals damage, you get to sacrifice and draw 3 cards. And as we've learned, there's something called a reflexive
trigger.
Fuck. Why do I keep thinking that? Reflexive trigger, where you are actually able to target the card with Radin Hagadoon's ability. So the same turn that you hit and deal damage and sacrifice it, you get to return it to the battlefield and attach it to a new assassin and continue the shenanigans. Sorry, not sorry.
Extremely loud and correct buzzer.
So yeah. Felt very powerful recently overall, but also understand that I have committed many, many commander crimes. Yeah, that's what I've been up to lately when it comes to all that.
You will not be making it into Commander Valhalla.
I'm okay with that. It sounds overrated anyway.
Get his ass.
What do you got? What else do you got?
Okay.
Speaking of Esper equipment.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, remember how I had an Arna Kenneru deck a couple weeks back that we were like, man, it doesn't have it yet?
Yeah.
We figured it the fuck out, gamers. So I was focused on playing every one of my Mirren swords in my collection, and I think that was actively hurting the deck. I needed to just focus on the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. So we went back to the drawing board with that. We melted that Arna list down and stirred it a little bit, and then added some like different seasonings, and then we poured it back into the mold, and now we have a brand new Arna deck that actually gets where we want it to go, and that feels good. One of the problems, gamers, the fucking card draw and interaction suite. I know. I don't want to fucking hear it, but yeah, you gotta eat your vegetables, okay?
This is the you lost the game moment, except for you, it's play more removal, and then you're like, God damn it, and then you and you smoke, you're like, okay, adds more removal to the deck.
I actually did need it. I think I was just like relying on sword effects to act as that interaction or card advantage for me. And it was just like I needed more concrete things instead of things that were conditional on having creatures and dealing combat damage with that equipped. You can do that on a lot of things, but I don't think relying on every Mirren sword to give you all of that is very good. So yeah, you gotta like diversify your investments or whatever. So yeah, if the deck sucks, I don't know, apply more card draw. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 brewers recommend this method.
If it works, it works. There's not much more to be said.
Yeah. Arna is extremely one punch babe now though, so that's just how things are going to be, and we started packing more cards to just like play into that and ensure that we've upped the number of cranioplating effects by 1. I think we had Nettle Cyst and all the glitters previously, and now we have Nettle Cyst, all the glitters, and cranioplating.
Hell yeah.
And every time we get an effect like that, I think we are going to want to be putting that in the deck. I think we should probably like prioritize finding those effects too, because Arna copying them just magnifies the power buff so greatly that we can increase our killing potential like a lot faster that way. Because 2 cranial platings is a lot more damage than 2 swords of X and Y or whatever, so prioritize finding the cranial plating or whatever. Nettle Cyst would also be a good thing if Living Weapon wasn't just a little bit annoying in this instance. Because you make the token, you attach it to Arna, and then the Living Weapon trigger resolves, and you make the Germ and attach the Nettle Cyst to Germ, and you're not doubling up on the power on the body. But you have 2 Nettle Cysts.
Yeah, like, you have another body that's scaling up as well, so, like, it could definitely be way worse.
Yeah, it's still good to have. It's just not the killing intent increase that a cranial plating is, and I was definitely sleeping on that. So we've made sure that we are respecting the power of cranial plating and the power of Arna to be the One Punch Babe and the people recognizing her for the One Punch Babe that she is. So we're just going to treat her like that. That's our game plan there. I didn't have just like generic sources of bodies in the earlier build that were very good, but Alila or Artful Provocateur is actually saving my ass in this deck, because every time I cast one of my knives, I'm making a 1/1 blue fairy creature token. These guys can block. They can also hold knives to get in for combat damage. If I've got +1/+1 counters on them or whatever, then those spiral out of control very quickly with Arna. Like, it all feels pretty good. A card that I'm really liking in this build, actually, is Great Sword of Tyr. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, which is, like, cool and good. That synergizes with Arna. If you resolve this after or before Arna's ability, then it gives you the counter to double with them. But the really good text is tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. You can get these fucking flying blockers out of the way if you think you're safe with your Bitter Blossom token. Not anymore, bitch. I'm coming in.
Yeah, as it turns out, tapping creatures down goes a long fucking way when it comes to playing Commander.
Yeah.
Play more Frost Titans, please and thank you.
I don't know about all that. Let's talk about the Swords of X and Y that I did include in this one. We have Sword of War and Peace, Sword of Truth and Justice, Sword of Blink and Ramp, Sword of Feast and Famine, and Sword of Fire and Ice.
I'm not surprised about any of those.
Yeah, Sword of War and Peace just cuts people's head off. I really like Sword of Truth and Justice for giving us more counters to put on things and proliferate. That synergizes with the Arna's abilities beautifully. Sword of Fire and Ice is generically good, but this one in particular I think scales really well with Arna. I'm dealing a lot more damage the more and more copies of Sophie that I make, and I'm drawing more cards. When you have 2 of these, then it feels a lot better than just the like shock and draw a single card. Then you're dealing like 4 damage and drawing 2 cards, and it starts to feel like an extremely worthwhile investment. Sword of Blink and Ramp is the Sword of Blink and Ramp. I don't need to tell you why that's good.
Yeah.
And then Sword of Feast and Famine, I actually like because it strips people's hands of answers to what I'm doing. I can hit you with that. I have 2 copies of it, so you're discarding 2 cards. That's 2 less instances of you, like, having something in hand that can interact with me. Like, you probably like to go down on cards to ensure that you do have the interaction or whatever if you want to keep that, but, like, having less options ensures that I can kill you faster, and that's what we need to be doing in this.
And consider, again, the MTGO meta is rude as fuck, so you have to be as rude.
Yeah, basically. I'm on Key to the Vault. It doesn't work well with Arna's ability, but it is just a fundamentally busted Magic the Gathering card. I think casting free spells is extremely strong, and shout out to the Benoit for putting me on this. I definitely slept on that.
I'm not gonna lie. I had always wanted to get one, and I wasn't able to like get it when the set first came out. And then I listened to the Smoking Mids bit, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna go on and get one. Fine. Fine, I'll go do it. Twist my arm, why don't you? Oh, it's like $1. Oh, okay, never mind, we're good.
Yeah, it's extremely cheap, and it served me well. I like the card a lot. Speaking of Nettle Cyst copies, Thran Power Suit. This is one that I hadn't realized existed.
That one is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I just found out about this doing this deck. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it, and it has Ward 2. Multiple instances of Ward are extremely annoying for your opponents to deal with because they all go on the stack. It's like Ward 2, Ward 2, Ward 2, Ward 2. So you have to pay 2 like 4 times if I have 4 Thran power suits equipped. So that just spirals out of control for every instance of a Thran power suit that I make, and we do make copies of that at a prodigious rate. Speaking of making token copies, I don't usually play token doublers, but again, the MTGO metagame is fucked, so I've got an Anointed Procession in this deck. It goes fucking bananas with Arna's ability. If you're attacking, you're making a copy of your cranial plating, and you're getting 2 of those instead. Like, you just cut people's heads off and it doesn't matter, you move on. Speaking of things that increase the number of cards that you draw and spiral out of control if you make copies, the Sage's Reverie. This is a card that I didn't fucking know about. And then looking into auras and stuff for this, when Sage's Reverie enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. An enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. This just spirals out of control if you make copies of it.
Fate Reforged, if I recall?
Yep.
Yep. Tarkir striking again.
Yeah. Staggering Insight is just +1/+1 lifelink, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. But I figure if I'm making a bunch of copies of that and then I can draw multiple cards with that, that'll feel pretty good. And then Sheltered by Ghosts is just like extremely annoying for my opponents.
What a stupid, busted fucking card.
Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna play that.
Like, oh, got rid of your thing, combat, make another copy of it. Do it again. Just do it.
And then one of the like inciting incidents of this deck, Sean, of Woodland Deck House fame, was putting me onto combat research and saying, Quinn, you can do so much combat research with Arna, and you know what? He's fucking right. You can.
Yo, dog, I heard you like combat research, so how about you do more combat and do more research?
Yeah, it's just a 1-drop aura that enchants creature, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and as long as enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has Ward 1. That Ward 1 has actually come in handy more than you would think. A lot of people will like tab out there for their removal and then be like, fuck, I forgot the Ward.
Yeah, no. I've been thinking about that recently too, where I'm like, okay, we're not seeing as many Ward 2s as we used to, but we are seeing a little bit more of an uptick of Ward 1s. And even then, people are like, damn, wait, Lava Spur boots? Fuck!
I think that is, and you can stack those, of course, so just, it goes real good on Arna. We've got Hammer of Nazan to kind of cheat on, equip, and protect Arna, give her indestructible. That feels really good because she is a pretty high priority removal target, given that when she lands, she's cutting people's heads off.
Yep.
And we're on the Ether Spark in this deck because...
okay.
Yeah, Chase Mythic from recent set is good, actually. Here's the thing. Much like the Ether Spark in the lore of the game, this card kind of just represents additional possibilities. Like, it's not giving you anything that you can't already get by walking through an Omen path in the game. Like, interplanar travel is possible and easy and cheap enough that they could give this kind of thing away as, like, a novelty prize. So, like, you can have a lot of cool things from it, but it's not, like, giving you anything that you can't already have. And, yeah, you can find all of these things in different 4-drop artifacts or whatever, but I don't know, it's just kind of nice. It just represents more possibilities with its card draw. The +1/+1 counter synergizes with Arna, and add 10 mana of any one color. Like, once you have some cards in hand and you have a big enough creature, you can do that pretty regularly. And
I suppose
the
only downside is you can't copy it because it's legendary, right?
Yeah, that is the only downside, basically. If I were a bit more of a sinner, I would program in some things that break the legend rule so that I could have more than one copy of the Ether Spark or the Hammer of Nazan or whatever. But I don't have the appetite for that yet, and I have been efficiently cutting people's heads off without them, so I don't think we're going to bother.
look, we are talking about a 5-mana commander that just so happens to have some built-in protection and some guardrails to make sure that you're not instantly blown out of the fucking water when you cast it. But we are also talking about Modern Horizons 3 and the additional contribution to the Esper equipment pool of cards. Radun Hagadoon and Arna Kennerud are shaking hands, and this is just a fantastic... Say what you will. I really do like the design, and still open-ended enough between the +1 counters, or quite frankly, any counters, and just sort of the quote-unquote modified creature corner of things. Like, just super cool design. Really cool.
Yeah. Shout out to the reconfigure creatures from Neon Dynasty.
Yes!
Those are huge role players in this deck. Blade of the Oni in particular, I think, is my goat.
Okay.
It just sets a guy to base power toughness 5/5.
Quinn, you and I and Arna Kennerud and Radun Hagadoon are grasping hands over Blade of the Oni and being like, yes, 5/5 with menace, so fucking cool.
Yeah, it can turn any one of my creatures into a 5/5 with menace, and it copies when it's equipped, so if things get blown up and just like a bunch of Blades of the Onis clatter uselessly to the ground, they all stand back up as demons and they're all on their own. I fucking adore that shit. We're also on the reality ship, which, again, legendary, so it's not good with the Arna ability, but I think Future Sight is so fucking strong that it's worthwhile to put that in this deck, and it synergizes with the rest of our equipment package. Acquisition Octopus is just additional card draw, and with the same like thing as the Blade of the Oni, once the creature holding it gets blown up. Shout out to...
I have been a new recent subscriber. Well, okay, maybe we count the last 6 months of being a recent subscriber or so, but yeah, reconfigured creatures are like really fucking cool.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of them recently. Shout out to that design from that set. I'm enamored of it. Thanks, gamers. Lion Sash in particular, you put the +1/+1 counters on the Lion Sash, you attack with it and Arna, you double those counters, then you attach the Lion Sash to Arna, like post-combat, to protect it from the board wipe that they're going to cast after that. And it just falls off as a creature with all of those +1/+1 counters still on it. Like, it's great.
And they're like, oh no, wait a minute. You're like, yeah, here I come. Coming at you.
Shout out to equipment legend Danitha Capuchin and Danitha Benalia's Hope, both versions of her fucking whip. The little one holds swords very well with her keywords and
the cost reduction.
casting them. And then her big one, once I've been answered, she'll drag them back from the graveyard and put them onto the battlefield attached to her, or I can cheat something big into play with her ability, and either of those are acceptable. Halvar's in the same vein of cheating equipment costs. If I need to move things around at all, we can do that with him. And equipped creatures or enchanted creatures have double strike is extremely strong rules text that aids in me just cutting people's heads off. We didn't have that from the beginning in the early build of this deck, and I think having that is important here. The Sword of the Realm side is also a thing that we could consider playing, but I think he's in the deck for the Halvar side, actually.
Yeah, freaking awesome.
We've got a Stone Hero Giant to help find equipment. We've got an Anchor to Reality to help find equipment. We've got an Open the Armory to help find equipment. We've got a Relic Seeker to help find equipment.
Damn, this MTGO meta just really requires all hands on fucking deck. Christ.
I am tutoring my fucking library for equipment. I have the Vampiric Tutor as well to make sure that whatever I need I can find. But we're taking advantage of the ability to search our library because that's what we got to do out there to be successful. So we're going to. And then my big indulgent hate card, of course, Sheoldred True Scriptures. I love that 5-drop, just enters the battlefield and sucks the air right out of the room. Sacrifice that non-token creature, Planeswalker. Love to hear it.
Yeah, I think I've been got by that card more than a few times, and it's really annoying.
Mm-hmm. And then if they have the requisite number of cards in their graveyard, I think it's 8, you can spend 5 and a black and transform her to the enchantment, the True Scriptures, which is more removal, more discard, and then a Rise of the Dark Realms on chapter 3. Like, fuck them.
You know, the more that you mention MTGO, I'm glad that you are not bringing the same heat back to the spell table world, because, like, damn, this shit's scary.
I think I have actually played this one against people in the spell table world, and we were, like, doing bracket 3, like, solidly, so it was a fine experience for everybody.
Yeah, fair enough. I also would like to note, based off of my current Moxfield view of the price breakdown, it's coming at $666.99.
Well, I'll tell you what, it does not cost that much to assemble that on MTGO. You are looking at a clean 35.53 ticks, which is about 35.53 USD.
Good. I love committing crimes and having a tier 3 deck. Damn. That's crazy.
There's barely any mechanical crimes in this deck.
No, I know. Well, I mean just commander crimes that you'd be committing by causing heinous amounts of overwhelming value just by copying one All That Glitters.
Man, yeah, those things scale incredibly with being copied. That is some overwhelming value. And the lifelink that Arna has just built in is extremely good. We are getting in there for combat damage, we're cutting your head off, we're ballooning my life total out of control, and we're stabilizing our position in this game to move over and do that to the same thing to another gamer.
All right.
Shit, sweet. All right, what you got for me?
All right. So we got that. How about I talk about my Nerev deck before we kind of converge on the Captain Howler decks?
It sounds good.
On top of, other things that you're attempting to work on. So I managed to put my Nerev Heart of the Storm deck together yesterday after I went out and got my copy from the store. The actual number of cards from the set are very few. We got Nerev, Heart of the Storm. We have Mardu Siegebreaker. That new Mardu Shadow Clone technology.
Oh, the Siege Chicken. I'm so jacked. This deck looks like it owns. I want to play this.
Also, after reviewing Thunder of Unity, I actually have a much higher opinion of this Mardu saga than originally first considered.
I thought that card owned. What are you talking about? You didn't like this?
No. I just didn't have a high opinion of it at first until I actually sat down and really thought about it.
Okay.
But I was just like, hold on, wait, think about it, looks at card selection. I had probably about 400 cards on my table last night when I was putting this deck together, because I'm like, okay, so Nerev says, and I know we talked about it before, but hey, we're talking about Mardu, and this is, if we're not Heroes Blade, we're the Mardu podcast or whatever. So Nerev Heart in the Storm, 1 red, white, black for a Spirit Dragon. That's a 4/5. So hey, we're already getting that extra toughness out of that mana value. It's great. Flying. If a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. So it is not an automatic all creatures you have are dealing double damage. It only cares about the ones that are entering this turn. So that factors in the tokens that are being made by Mobilize, or by Shadow Clones by Mardu Siegebreaker. It also considers myriad tokens that are entering the battlefield. That also means your Inferno Titans and your Red Dragons and your Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, your Terror of the Peaks, so on, so on.
Beautiful.
So I was like, okay, how do I put this all together? What do I compromise on? And what am I willing to deal with as a 1.0 version before making additions later? Because, like I said, I had like 400 cards on my table. I was going through...
That's a lot of fucking cards.
I was going through every single consideration I could conceivably think of. I was like, do I want to put a Kavu in here to deal 4 damage to target creature? Is that really enough? What else can we do? So this list involves, we got some quote-unquote typical board ropes. We got Crux of Fate because we do have a non-zero amount of dragons in this list, so having a board wipe to get...
do. Boltwing Marauder mentioned.
Yeah, you brought it up, and I was like, well, I gotta play Boltwing Marauder because that thing is just fucking cool, but I will go into...
rules.
I will go into another reason why later.
All right.
So yeah, we got Crux of Fate, we got Ruinous Ultimatum, because my goal is to get that special guest version of the Nerev Ruinous Ultimatum, because I got the fucking playmat of Ruinous Ultimatum, because that artwork is fucking sick.
It's so sick.
It's so fucking cool. The other one here is Starfall Invocation, because being able to destroy all creatures, return a creature that was put into your graveyard this way from the battlefield under your control, and finding ways to give Nerev that would return to the battlefield haste seems like a pretty cool way to keep stabilizing your board and continuing the Bane Drain. Or just, maybe having an indestructible creature out or whatever. The sky's the limit. We got options here. Removal's pretty simple and straightforward and pretty fiddly because the creatures that deal damage are kind of taking most of that pillar up. Stroke of Midnight, Source of Plowshares, Terminate, Wear and Tear, Crackling Doom. Pretty simple, straight to the point, right?
I love a Crackling Doom, though. That shit feels bad.
Yup. And you also take 2 damage on top of it. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Instant speed. Sacrifice my biggest guy at the end of somebody else's turn. Like, they just cast that guy. It's still got summy tummies, and now I have to sacrifice it and take 2 damage on top. Ugh.
Yeah, get fucked. Nahiri's Resolve, I think, has the proper home here.
Hell yeah, dude. This is a perfect deck for this card.
So, Nahiri's Resolve, 3 red and a white for an enchantment that says creatures you control have +1/+0 and have haste. At the beginning of your end step, exile any number of non-token artifacts and or creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. So, this means you can yoink away Nerev and your other ETB creatures out of the red zone, and maybe you could take a few hits to the face, but what you're coming back with will be hitting double fold, or people are just going to camp you with removal. I don't know. Whatever.
Your guys were tapped anyway. You attacked with them. What do you care if they're exiled? You aren't blocking.
Yeah. So, but then you're like, well, what else is in the deck here that really helps necessitate this? So, like previously mentioned, Red Dragon ETBs, 4 damage to each opponent. We're going to make that 8 damage. That seems pretty good. Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, 4 damage to any target. Make it 8 damage? Yeah, that's pretty good. And it has Titan templating. So we go along with Inferno Titan, dealing 3 damage divided among any targets. Awesome. Terror of the Peaks, Sportstorm Surge, no-brainer. Sunspine Links, guess we got to get that life gain prevention in there while also doming people for their non-basics.
Sunspine, my queen. I love this guy.
White, probably we run the risk of blowing ourselves up, but you know what? That's the risk we gotta run, because we're bringing all the heaters.
Yeah, dude, greatness at any cost.
Sycorax Commander from Doctor Who. It has haste, so we could be swinging in for 8, which is already pretty great, and first strike, so really think about that block for a second here. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent faces a villainous choice. That opponent discards all the cards in their hand, then draws that many cards -1, or Sycorax Commander deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. Now, one of these things could potentially be pretty good if people are like, man, my full grip of 7 sucks. Who the fuck says that? It's called Dark Deal for a reason. And then the other one is just like get domed for, I don't know, you have 3 cards in hand, take 6, and so on. So it's pretty nutty.
Yeah, that seems extremely good with Shadow Clone technology. Because people get one of those triggers resolved on them, and they're like, okay, fine. Ugh, that sucked. And then you Shadow Clone it, and then they're like, fuck, another one?
It's never ending. I would love to get that under a Mardu Siegebreaker. That seems pretty fucking cool.
Oh, just fucking ruin everybody's life totals.
Yeah. Myojin of Roaring Blades. 5 and triple red for a spirit that's a 7/4. It enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter as long as you cast it from your hand. That's not unlikely in this deck. Remove an indestructible counter from Myojin of Roaring Blades. Deals 7 damage to each up to 3 targets. So I would like to deal 14 damage to each of my opponents, or just start sniping the biggest dumb thing on the battlefield.
I think if 14 damage to each opponent doesn't get you there, then you should probably be focusing on other things than casting a Myojin of Roaring Blades.
Yeah, this is what we're here to do. So it's time to talk about the thing about the Boltwing Marauder that I'd been sitting on and thinking about for a very long time here. So hear me out. Mm-hmm. There's a card that's been tickling my brain since it came out in Neon Dynasty, Eiganjo Uprising.
All right, continue.
So X red and white for a sorcery that says create X 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. They gain menace and haste until the end of turn. Then each opponent also creates X amount of samurai -1 with vigilance. But with the combined powers, or just maybe circumstantially being there, the combined powers of Ogre Battle Driver and Boltwing Marauder on top of Nerev, you are throwing out absolute haymakers of these fucking samurai tokens, and people better be fucking blocking, or they're just going to be hit for, I don't know, 4, 8, 16, I don't know, whatever damage. It's through the roof. I have high hopes for this. I really want it to work.
I'm extremely into that. I think a cool thing, we're going to put some very heavy air quotes around cool, but a cool thing that you could do with Eiganjo Uprising is also play Authority of the Consuls and ensure that every one of your
Why would you? Hey, look, listen. I was
gains
thinking
you a life.
I was thinking about it. I do have a copy somewhere, so I will definitely go try and find that now. Thank you very much for implanting the idea in my brain.
Yeah, but not just for Eiganjo Uprising, but also just for being able to get through for combat damage. I think that Authority of the Consuls is going to keep them guys tapped and out of your fucking way, and that's going to be what you want.
I think I did have Thalia, Heretic, Cathar, and Urabrask on the list.
They were on the table, yeah.
So I was like, maybe. But when I was thinking about, again, this is the 1.0 version. I'm going to test it out. I think I got a bunch of Commander games to look forward to this upcoming weekend. So this will be the playtest session. But I think the suite of creatures that I gathered are pretty sweet. I love them a lot. I think...
Yeah, dude, you've got this fucking pre-release promo, Heartpiercer Manticore. Like, when's the last time you heard somebody cast one of those?
Yeah, Heartpiercer Manticore, 2 double red for 4/3 Manticore. When it enters, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, Heartpiercer deals damage to that powers of that creature's power to target anything. I'm pretty sure after the errata, but I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, any target these days.
With Embalm, 5 for a red to exile it from your graveyard and create a copy of it, except it's this white zombie Manticore with no mana cost. So, I don't know, being able to take, like, if your Myojin of Roaring Blades is done its job and things are still not dead, this is how you throw 14 damage at someone's face with Nerev out. So yeah. Obviously, a lot of this does rely on having your Spirit Dragon stick around, but the deck is still, I think, pretty resilient enough to find ways to body people to death. And I'd like to see where this ends up going. Another thing to note, kind of going back to the Eiganjo Uprising kind of thing, I got a copy of Crowded Crypt in here. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a corpse counter on this artifact, and then later you can pay 4 in double black and sacrifice it to create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Decayed for each corpse counter on it. So again, you have the likes of, let's say, Boltwing Marauder or Ogre Battle Driver or some other kind of haste source, or just have Nerev out, and then suddenly you can go on the offensive with zombie tokens. So I'm fiddling a little bit more with tokens than usual for at least my gameplay plan. And I just think there's just a lot of cool stuff in the deck, and it's going to be really tricky. And I think probably one of the things that people might be too worried about is how do you spec Nerev to make it interesting. And I think it just ultimately comes down to whatever your personal preference is. was looking at Assemble the Legion. And
oh, that's fun.
to go, I'm like, well, what if you really do lean into the token end of things and just keep making like hasty tokens progressively over time? Othari was on the deck for a bit there. Lagomos Hand of Hatred is the only hint that I was thinking about doing Ball, Lightning, Typal stuff, because I also had Lightning Skelemental and Spark Trooper on the desk as well, but I decided not to include them this time around, and maybe we'll come back later and do that. I don't know. Narrative might be boring for some people, but it asks the question of how do you achieve the goal of the double damage, and there's enough diversity that allows you to do that from combat and direct damage and whatever else you can conceivably think of, and I like riding the line between kind of all of it.
I think you've put together a very cool list, and you've chosen some very pretty printings of cards, so that I appreciate.
Yeah, whatever I had in foil, or whatever I had that was pretty, it definitely went in there because I like my sick foils, not gonna lie.
Hell yeah, dude. Who doesn't?
Some people are like, no, the Pringles aren't for me. All right, fine, give it over here, or I'll take it. Twist my arm, why don't you? All right. Do you want to talk about what you're thinking about for cars?
Yeah. So I'm working on Mardu and Abzan cars decks. Basically, I would like for Greasefang to be able to hold a red mana symbol and also a green mana symbol, and we're trying to figure out how to make that work. Haven't bought the Greasefang for MTGO yet, but like I should be able to like come up with a concept of a deck that works without just like hinging on her entirely, right? So yeah, we're working on that. Nothing to report yet because they're still extremely medium. We'll have something soon though. I think I can feel it. We're getting close. I tried Thalia and the Gitrog monster for Abzan cars, and that was all right. But I think the main thing that made that all right was just the inherent card advantage that we had in the zone from Thalia Frog, and the just pornographic amount of lands that you're allowed to put on the battlefield in green mana. You get away with a lot if you can just play an extra land every turn and you very consistently hit that second land drop. Like it's a lot.
Now my recommendations for this, because I read this a bit before we got started. Hear me out. On the one hand, in Mardu, you could go Caesar.
Okay.
Because all he cares about is when you go to combat, you get to choose to sacrifice something, and then you either make tokens, draw cards, or whatever. But you could be making these little 1/1 dudes be your pilot.
I think that is a strong angle. We do have the Valor's flagship that makes tokens when you cycle it. So there's that already, and there's, I think, Seer Slicer Goblin that I do usually play when I'm in red mana, who also is a 2-power and prints out additional guys who can be pilots. Actually, there's something there. I could go Caesar.
Quinn, hear me out. You go full Mad Max / Fallout, because there are actually vehicles in Fallout. Like, there are actually vehicles in Fallout. They just don't put them, they never really like put them in the 3D games, and people like tried mod them in or whatever. But again, we could go the full Mad Max angle, because again, I want to point out, Caesar's Legion literally were wearing football gear to make themselves look like Roman legionaries, right? I don't know. I just think like if this was the way you were going to go and you wanted to find a way to like make more dudes that maybe if they survive the combat step, could be used to pilot stuff later. You're also still obviously in white-black, so you can play Greasefang. We're playing, at least in the Mardu end of things, we're playing red and we're playing black, which means that new Chariot from Aether Drift allows you to just ditch cards to make zombie tokens, which feeds into the pilot thing again. And if you're making as many tokens as you can make with a combination of like all these vehicles, you could just use Caesar to just laser people at some point while throwing vehicles in their faces. Also, I mean, what more reason do you need to play Demonic Junker? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I have Demonic Junker in the list currently. I've got my commander right now is Zergo because he's 4 mana for 7 power. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
he can
just
crew
pilot
literally anything.
Whatever, who cares?
Yeah. But he doesn't have fucking card advantage, and I'm thinking that if I'm going to play vehicles, which is a mid strategy if you're not putting Greasefang in the command zone, then I need to draw cards, especially if I'm going to do this on MTGO. So I think Caesar's a really good idea for the Mardu vehicles. We're going to take a look at how much that guy is by himself, because he might just be cheaper to like buy the Mardu Fallout precon.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know, that precon does have some pretty cool stuff in it, so, you know.
Yeah, it's a great time. I have it in paper, so, like, I wouldn't be opposed to owning that digitally as well.
And here's my Abzan recommendation here is a new Dragonstorm card. Betor Kin to All. The reason being is that when you go to your end step, your vehicles are creatures, and they probably have toughness that contribute to each escalating total. So you still have card draw if your toughness collective is 10, which is like easy. You already got 7 all alone by the dragon. But if you have an increasing amount of vehicles, maybe you get the toughness to 20 so you can make your vehicles be blockers. And then finally, if you get to 40, which would be absolutely obscene, but if your vehicles are dodging through removal because they're not creatures anymore, you could theoretically hit that 40 toughness and then just laser someone.
Damn.
So I would like to present to you 2 laser potential commanders that have card draw in them. Alternatively, I did hear about a Merkle vehicles list.
I thought about Merkle vehicles and decided that I didn't want to put a 7 mana card in the command zone for this if I was looking for that to like enable the strategy. Merkle's more of a I guess finisher in that you can play that and have the you can't be meaningfully interacted with, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that that's the thing that I'm looking for, because then I'd need upfront my strategy to be better so that I can make it to the point where I can cast Merkle. And I don't think that my strategy upfront is good enough to do that.
Yeah, fair enough. But the Spirit Dragon, though? Spirit Dragon? Yeah.
That, I think, has potential, because this guy's a 5-drop. That's 2 whole-ass turns, which is... It makes a difference. A lot can happen in 2 turns.
Oh, no doubt, yeah. So, food for thought, but that's my recommendation for those 2 ideas.
Yeah, I think we will think about that. Mardu Caesar for vehicles. There's something there.
Sounds good. All right. All right. Let's go into this one. I was like, it's about time that we kind of converge on this one. Let's talk about our respective Captain Howler Sea Scourge decks.
Yeah, hashtag Howler posting.
Let's be honest here. I think I'm a Magic player that just sometimes will play a popular commander because it's cool and there really is no more thought process into it. But I will also critique other people for playing the super cool commander and not being a hipster. And the reality is, you just got to get over that shit. And Howler is sort of the compromise on that for me.
Yeah.
Because you and I both jumped on this guy, right away. And we're like, you know what? This guy's cool. I think he's worth the effort.
Yeah, and I think that we have both approached that from very different angles. I think mine wants to be more upfront and in thine face with my combat damage, whereas yours is more interested in sitting back and using other people's creatures to do the damage.
Yep, and that is, again, the cool thing about... This is a popular commander that appears very linear, and yet we have both gotten 2 different deck ideas based off that same core premise. And I like that we were able to do that.
Yeah. So tell me about your primary game plan and how you're accomplishing that.
Right. So, as previously mentioned, I did have a Red Death Shipwrecker deck. The reasons being, of course, is that Red Death Shipwrecker is just a neat, interesting design card. 2, it's from Fallout. And 3, it was like, wow, that's a shocking surprise that Red Death would even get a card like this, but here we are. But then, simultaneously, Ivora Insatiable Air was made as a deck, and then they printed this guy, and it was like, well, I think I know what I need. I think I know what I need to do here, and this is normally not the line of thinking that most people are expecting. But mentally, I'm like, I can put these together and make it work, because Captain Howler doesn't care who is dealing the damage from the pump that he gives. He only cares about the damage being dealt to meet the condition to draw a card. So, add in stuff like Disrupt Decorum, Red Death Shipwrecker, and a couple other things that would incentivize other people with maybe some instant speed methods of discarding cards. And you can have people punch each other in the face harder while you come out on top with some extra cards in hand. And also, it was just a way for me to like find ways to get flying creatures or evasive creatures in a list. Duelist of the Mind, for example, being able to trigger off of committing a crime. Something that we're doing quite a bit when we're targeting our opponents with ways to give them evasion, doubling their power, casting Blood Frenzy. That's one of my new favorite things to do in Commander recently. 1 in a red for an instant. Cast it only before combat damage is being dealt, or the combat damage step. Then target attacking or blocking creature gets +4/+0 until end of turn. Destroy that creature at the beginning of the next end step, which beautiful. It works out way better than you think. And yeah, I think other than that, it's usually like we have some pretty similar crossover. I think you have a little bit more juice in your list compared to mine. Another thing shared between us, Boosted Sloop.
Yeah, Boosted Sloop. It's Neuron activation.
Yeah, just it's Boosted Sloop. Oh, wow.
I have the Monument to Endurance because it is quite a bit cheaper on MTGO than it is in paper. I'm looking at like $7 for the paper copy. I don't think that, it doesn't look like that one's in yours.
No, I'm pretty, I tried, I don't know, I tried being kind of lean in terms of mana value here and there, and more incidental draw compared to maybe your more wheel kind of centric stuff. I don't know. We got our crossover, like we said, but how we get to that point is a little bit different.
I don't think I'm that wheel centric. It's literally just the Reforge the Soul and then like actual factual Wheel of Fortune.
And Windfall.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I do have 3 wheels. Because eventually you do get to a point where you need to just like reload, and the wheels are the most efficient way to do that. But my main game plan is actually like, it's a lot stronger if you just do the like one-shot instances of a discard and then stack those triggers on 1 or 2 creatures. And then when they deal combat damage, you draw back up to like card neutral and then get whatever combat damage triggers off of whatever cards you have equipped or whatever. So my suite of enablers for this sort of thing is cards like Unctus Grand Metatect, who whenever blue creatures become tapped, they draw a card and discard a card. Howler is a blue creature, of course, and a lot of my unblockable guys are blue, so anybody that I care about who's being declared attacker, and Unctus also has the ability to just like turn a guy blue, so I can declare any of these guys as attackers, and then they'll do that draw and discard. I can discard cards that we're going to trigger Captain Howler, and then we've seen a new card, and we're dealing combat damage, so we're going to draw another card. Like, I'm being shown twice as many cards this way. I think Unctus is the fucking goat for this kind of strategy. I'm on just a tiny bit of Valiant tech in the form of Emberheart Challenger. This guy's got whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability I control for the first time each turn, I exile the top card of my library. Until the end of turn, I can play that card. He's also got haste and prowess. So I'm targeting this guy with like a Howler trigger and then exiling another card that we can maybe use to cast or put more Howler triggers on the stack with whatever that spell happens to be. It's looking and feeling pretty good. I'm on the conspiracy theorist. I don't know if you've got anything that's like, I'm going to tuck these cards away for use later this turn, but he's my one instance of that effect, where whenever you discard one or more non-land cards, you can exile one of them from your graveyard, and if you do, you may cast it this turn.
I guess the trade-off here that I always keep forgetting about conspiracy theorist is the payment of the one and discarding a card to draw a card, so you are able to get the boost off. The main thing is, I just think, I don't know, I prefer if I'm throwing creatures in, there's a guaranteed way for them to get through, or they're naturally evasive as they are.
I don't really care about this guy's attack trigger, actually, because I have plenty of ways to ensure that I'm going to be discarding the cards when I want to. He's literally just like, if I discard a thing that I would rather cast at some point, he tucks that away for later, and I get to cast it. I don't think I've ever attacked with this guy, actually.
Yeah, fair enough. Card advantage in this deck is always super tricky, because most of the effects that we're looking at are always a 1-for-1 or 2-for-2 trade-off, so we're always more often than not going down a card unless there's like additional setup going on here. And yeah, conspiracy theorist and the containment construct are kind of the ways you can go about doing that.
I see you're on Brawlin and Glinthorn Buccaneer. Very cool. I did not have those cards, and Brawlin is actually expensive on MTGO. So I'm just on the Magmakin Artillerist that I opened.
Yeah, I did not get the precon in paper, but I always had a Brineland Skyshark Rider on hand because I always have some kind of discard effect going on. But then you're like, hold on a second here. Pay red, target shark gains trample until end of turn. Well, that seems pretty fucking good.
Well, hey, Howler's a shark. Huh. I wonder who that's for.
It couldn't, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Also find it funny how our planeswalker choices are a little bit different here.
Yeah, yours is like draw and discard on the minus to make a 2/2 blue wizard creature token. We love that. And you also have the protection on it from Kasmina Enigmatic Mentor, whereas I went the like, these guys are going to do over time a lot of draw and discard for me with a Rawl Crackling Wit and Chandra Sparkhunter, who both have like loot abilities.
Yeah. One of the things I've noted, and I kind of said it in passing last episode, I think, but I'm definitely committing to the bit now. I've recently been really enjoying tucking at least one Planeswalker in a list, because if they really do work with the deck, then it kind of feels like a home. And of course, it's the fact that it's a deterrent for people to be like, I'm going to swing at your Planeswalker. And I'm like, you know what? It did its job already. Thanks, Kaito.
Yeah. I have indeed been trying to work at least one Planeswalker into a deck as well. I don't know, it's a card type in the game. You gotta explore them all. And these two in particular were really good for me. I'm on a battle, so I've got that on you. I have Invasion of Kaldheim.
I had Invasion of Kaldheim on my list, and then there was something about it where I was just like, this is a little more awkward. I honestly think I swapped Invasion of Kaldheim for Kasmina, but don't quote me on that.
I think that makes sense. She's got the protection. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Invasion of Kaldheim is extremely cool because the backside is Pyre of the World Tree, where you can discard a land card, and Pyre of the World Tree deals 2 damage to any target. But
you know what? I know what I took out for it.
What?
I took out Invasion of Kaldheim, and I put in Channeled Force.
Oh.
Because if I'm going to be discarding cards... Anyway, here's the thing, too, is I actually wanted the cards in hand and not in exile. But the other side, Pyre of the World Tree is really fucking cool, though.
It is extremely fucking cool. Whenever you discard a land card, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So it's the setup and the payoff on one side here, but you had to flip the battle to get to it. So I think that's fine. And the discard triggers Howler. It also puts more damage on the stack. It also makes it card neutral of sorts by exiling the card, so you can just keep casting spells. And in my deck, where I'm looking to just like fucking one punch you out of the game with Howler, then we stack all of those up, and we're looking to just like storm turn basically and put a lot of Howler triggers on one or two bodies and take you out of the game with that single punch.
Yeah. I'm a control player, so I'm making you do it for me.
Let's talk about our top end differences. You have Death Kiss.
Yeah, this was again the holdover. It's the holdover from Red Death, and you always got a Death Kiss in your back pocket when you least expect it. But also, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks one of your opponents, double the power until end of turn. Target it with Captain Howler before that effect goes off and punch him even harder, and then just goading people for a decent monstrosity double X investment seems like a pretty good trade-off here.
Yeah, I think that card is extremely fucking cool in your Captain Howler deck. I've actually seen this guy on MTGO, but it was fucking bugged there. It was responding so that whenever a creature attacked, you would double the Death Kiss's power, and that is not what that card says to do.
That is, okay. I mean, that's okay. Weird.
Yeah, but it was fucked up, though.
Can't really blame the MTGO folks. They're trying their best over there.
Yeah, there are entirely too many cards in this game, and they have to write rules for, like, to make sure that all of those interact with each other in the computer language, in addition to the Magic the Gathering language. Shit is fucked.
Yeah.
But for my top end, I have the Overlord of the Flood Pits and the Locust God. Overlord of the Flood Pits is just, like, enabling the Howler game plan. It's also a big flying body. And then the Locust God makes a bunch of bodies for me to block with because I'm tapping my big main like threats every turn. You gotta have some sort of protection. And the Locust God is a high impact enough threat to make the cut in the MTGO metagame.
Yeah, I think when I was putting this list together, I was thinking of token makers like Talrand and the Locust God. But the thing I found, at least when you're trying to compromise on putting together a strategy of forcing other people to attack other people, or just at least incentivizing them, it's just hard to put a 6-mana creature in a deck that caps out at 6 mana, and the bulk of your spells are 2 or 3 mana.
I think you being on Shark Typhoon sort of like takes that slot for you. I don't have Shark Typhoon in my list, and I would really like to. I just don't have one on the website. But yeah, that's sort of they're fulfilling the same role basically, and the Shark Typhoon interacts with Brawl unfavorably. Like you can give those sharks trample, and that's very cool. I have Eluge the Shoreless Sea because I can discount my instants and sorceries, and a lot of the ways that I deal damage are like draw and discard on those guys, so I've got the huge cost reducer. I think that would be a good add for your deck because it discounts the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn, and all you have to do is run the number of flood counters up. If you're casting spells on everybody's turn, you're taking advantage of that 4 times as much as I am.
Well, I do love casting spells on your turn.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah. I did recently take out Tolarian Winds, which is just 1 and a blue for instant speed, discard all the cards in your hand, draw that many cards. The reason being is that I was trying to incorporate Winter Night Stories in Glacial Dragon Hunt. 1, because they're new cards, and 2, I am reaching the point of my Magic career where I want that intersection of everything, more card per card, And, when Kyle did that video on the Legendary Creature YouTube channel about just, like, card density.
Value dense cards.
Value density, excuse me, yeah. Where it's just like, if I could play something, for example, if I could play something else other than Disrupt Decorum, like, that had a roughly equivalent value, that also happened to goad things in blue-red, like, I could put Furkrag in here, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of just value density, both of these new cards from Dragonstorm happen to fit into the needs and requirements of my deck, while also having some additional upside. And at least in Winter Night Stories case, it allows you to even to scale how much you choose to discard depending on what you choose. So, like, you're like, do I want the +4/+0 or do I want the +2/+0, but make sure I have a +1 card in my hand, There's just a lot of different things to consider in this deck that I'm just tackling it from a completely different angle than how you've gone about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that we have gone about this.
Yep. And again, as popular as Howler is right now, which I'm just curious, I'm going to go look over at EDH Rec, but, nearly 5,000 decks.
Oh, yeah, he's up there. Is he, like, top 50?
Rank 342.
Oh, okay.
He is only at 4,800 decks, so I can understand that as quickly new as he is. I don't know. Here's the thing, right? We could sit here and talk about how certain commander designs, like, fix the problem that didn't need to be fixed. Like, people, like, let's talk about Doran and the Commander Precon Felothar, right? Like, yeah. You solved the toughness matters wall issue, except now you overcorrected with one single design. And Howler asked the question of, well, how about is it draw and discard matters, but you give that pump to anything and you get card draw out of it. So you're asked to be very aggressive in some way, shape, or form, which is totally our shtick of turning these creatures sideways. But the card choice is like, look, we got our crossover. We'll have the lists up for reference. Like, I had Fairy Mastermind, and then I took it out. But you and I both have Ghostly Pilferer, NT Seneschal of the Sun. We both have Anger and Wonder in the deck.
Yeah.
Malcolm.
I think those four are, like, too good to sleep on. And yeah, we both have Malcolm.
But then we get into, like, my evasive creatures look like Duelist of the Mind and Steamcore Scholar. And, but then I put in Levon, Cultist of Tiamat, because if I'm already giving something +2/+0, why don't I also give it +X/+0? And because I know that smoke is going to be coming my way, I can at least put a Portal Mage out to make sure that someone goes somewhere else for at least one attacking creature. So, and then, like, Fell Beast Shriek, because again, I'm committing crimes and goading creatures. And if I can somehow piggyback off of another spell, why don't I do that? But yeah, it's just the end goal is the same. The method and journey to get to that end goal has a lot of differences between the two of us.
Yeah, as it turns out, Howler has two hands.
So yeah, it's very cool, and I don't even mind. Like, I don't feel as if we're encroaching on each other's space.
Yeah, exactly. He's got two hands.
Yeah. And if they do something similar like that again, I don't know, I'll have to see what the card looks like before I make that consideration. But Captain Howler's just been nice, palate cleanser, I guess, for me in a way. Just refreshing. Aether Drift is cool, as it turns out.
Aether Drift confirmed for cool. I'm extremely high on it, despite the public opinion.
As we all know it. Yeah, anything else to go over before we go to the soapbox?
I think we covered it all. Run that elevator music. Dark Souls font, mid-smoked.
You know what? I'm putting that up on the... I gotta make that now. Damn it!
All right.
Are
we ready?
Hit us with it.
We're locked in?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is a sermon or whatever on spell theft, or how I learned to stop worrying and love weird card advantage. So first things first, we gotta, we gotta define some terms. What the fuck am I talking about when I say spell theft? I'm not talking about onboard theft, like control magic or active treason. I say looking pointedly at Cole. It's not theft reanimator, like Ghoul's Night Out or Dredge the Mire or Breach the Multiverse or Dance Macabre. I say looking pointedly at other gamers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm talking about exiling cards from my opponent's libraries and putting them in a pocket dimension that I have access to cast them from. I call that spell theft because it's a spell that I've stolen and I still gotta cast it. It's literally just like I've drawn cards, except they came from the top of your library instead of from mine.
Right, yeah.
The length of time that I have access to these spells can vary. The mana color requirements can vary. Some spells will say you can spend mana as though or mana of any color. Some will have me actually cast the colors of mana on the card. Mm-hmm. But all of that is the kind of thing that we're talking about here. So now that we've defined that,
you have you had my interest. Now you have my attention.
Yeah, you're doing the gamer lean in.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So yeah, upfront, spell theft, not a good strategy. This shit is for certified chillers and mid-smokers. Your opponents run individually powerful cards, sure, but they also build with synergy in mind. And you are just like skimming off the top of this layered cake that they have constructed. You're only ever getting a portion at a time. You're not tasting the full thing. Likely shit is not going to synergize. And you figuring out that puzzle is part of the appeal.
True. Okay. Yeah, I like where this is going.
So we want to talk about why to play spell theft, and we're going to do this for this section in the order of most to least wholesome. First,
you're not going to go bad news to the good news? Oh God, jeez, what a...
No, it'll make sense when we get there, I promise.
Okay, all right, hit us with it.
All right, so for starters, see more cards. I feel like you get to see more cards if the card advantage is air quotes bad, like impulse draw or spell theft. But if you plan around that, you can basically turn off the downside. I say like bad because like impulse draw, they limit the amount of time that you have access to those spells, and with spell theft, you're not drawing from a deck that you have built with the synergy with synergy in mind, so it's like not as good for you as it could be. That's what I'm referring to. So they just like show you more cards to make up for it with quantity. Predator's Hour is my example of this. There's not really a spell otherwise that's a coastal piracy for a turn for 2 mana. You've got like Open into Wonder that'll give your guys the on combat damage draw card ability. You can get that on individual creatures, but there aren't really anything that does what Predator's Hour does. And
for
every
right,
like
absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, and every real coastal piracy is 4 mana value, but you can play Predator's Hour, and it's exactly a coastal piracy, and your team gets Menace.
For the certified combat junkies out there, it's us.
Yeah, Menace is actually an incredibly powerful keyword. Do not sleep on that kind of thing. So yeah, you don't see you don't see the quality spells because let me You find your quality spells by seeing the quantity of spells. Like, these spells are maybe not going to be good for you until you've seen 4 or 5 of them from your opponent's libraries. And then you start getting into, okay, this is a card that I want to use, and we'll take this from this person's library. But it took seeing all of those fucking cards to find the quality spells in there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, I see.
So another reason to play Spell Theft is you see a wider variety of cards. There's too many fucking cards in this game. I can't build all of these decks myself. I can try and read every card. I'm not going to retain that.
Yeah, that shit is not going to happen at all.
There are going to be cards out there that I'm never considering playing that other people are treating like auto-includes, and I might never know that. But if I exile that shit off the top of their library, and I'm like, what the fuck is this new Capenna Commander card that was in the checks notes, banned counters precon? Then I can steal that and harvest that gameplay experience for myself. And not lastly, sorry, we have one more point after that, but like we talked about, building a viable game plan in a cave with a box of scraps, it'll make you feel like the absolute champion, brain genius motherfucker unlimited. You'll feel so smart.
What the fuck? Absolute champion, absolute champion, brain genius, motherfucker unlimited. What? First of all, this is my new favorite quote. Like, this is my new favorite thing just to say, because it is every ridiculous... This is fucking obscene. Continue.
Yeah, write that one down. You'll feel like an absolute champion, brain genius, motherfucker unlimited.
Awesome. Amazing. Fantastic. Love this. Continue.
Oh, we can talk about some ways you can win with a Spell Theft game plan later in this speech, but without those pieces, it's kind of like assembling a sweet limited deck and figuring out the synergy on the fly. Hey, do you like Cube? This is a way that you can play Cube in EDH, basically. Like, you find these busted cards, but you're playing limited, so they're not, like, working together, but you'll figure something out.
Yeah, like, we'll make the gears mesh somehow along the way.
And then lastly, my most unwholesome reason, I like to make my friends look at the things they do to other people firsthand. It's all about the psychic damage, baby.
Oh,
yeah,
you
that's
sick
your
bitch.
perfect son that I'm declaring as an attacker at you, except his eyes are glowing with the same unnatural purple light as mine, and he is not making it home safe.
Oh my fucking god. I mean, look, I don't know how many times you get to see the cards just disappear, and that alone is psychic damage, but then it being used against you, whole other fucking level of psychic damage.
And if you're going to play busted creatures, I'm going to point them back at you. Oh, did that suck? You shouldn't have put it in your deck.
And that's why I say you just keep playing bad cards, people. Then it can't blow up in your face.
All right, so now that we've talked about how or why to play Spell Theft, I want to talk about how to play it, like some ways that you can. So this section will start off with the I guess like spelltheft.deck. We primarily, first off, want to focus on Spell Theft engines. You don't want to spend the mana to draw the cards and then also have to cast the cards. It's just like when you're drawing cards normally, you want to set up a card advantage engine. You would rather, like, have that Phyrexian Arena over the one-shot card advantage instance. And I mean, you do want to have a mix of both, and we're going to talk about that later, but you primarily want to stick a card advantage engine and I think ride that to where you're going. So my brand new fave of these, Gaunty3, I did not write down his subtitle, but he's from Either Drift, so figure it out from there. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, that creature's controller exiles the top card of the person they dealt combat damage to, their library, and you can cast that, and you have you can spend mana or mana of any color to cast it. Additionally, whenever a player casts a spell they don't own, they make a treasure token.
Okay.
So I'm already in. I'm gonna attack you anyway because I'm here to advance the game state meaningfully via the reduction of life totals. I might as well draw some cards while I'm at it. And Gonti also makes all of these stolen spells basically one cheaper by giving me a treasure when I cast them. That shit is lit, and he gives me the treasure that I can use to cast the other spells from areas that don't wash the mana, like Praetor's Grasp. I can use that to cast those spells. Court of Locthwain is another, I think, powerful spell theft engine. If you squint, this guy draws you 2 cards a turn, one from the stolen spell that it exiles on your upkeep, and one from the Monarch. All you have to do is hold the crown. And if you hold the crown, it's pulling double duty because it's a ramp piece in casting the stolen spell on your upkeep for free, or just the card draw. So you've got like 2 cards in one there. And then Stolen Strategy. Like we've been saying from, I think, Alpha in the form of Ancestral Recall, draw 3 cards a turn, it's powerful booyah, even if they're not coming from your library.
Going back to the whole mystery key talk earlier, except this time it's just opponents, which is pretty good.
Yeah, you were dealing combat damage, sacrificing the mystery key, drawing 3 cards, and all of that was just burying your opponents in card advantage. It found you all of the answers that you needed. And even if I'm not drawing 3 cards from my library, I'm seeing enough cards that I'm going to find something useful in there.
It's pretty good.
All right, so this next section, spell theft one-shots. We talked about spell theft engines, but you have to diversify your investments. If you can cast these guys, then maybe you can find something else that'll let you set up better. So let's talk about them. First things first, free spells are good. More at 11. So these guys steal spells and give you free spells, and their names are Plarg and Nasari. There's a fucking brick of text here. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles a card from the top of their... Each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. An opponent chooses a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast up to 2 spells from among the other cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. So I pick one of my opponents. They say one of these spells they don't want to fucking see, and that gets shuffled away. And then the rest of those, I pick 2 and can cast them without paying their mana costs. I can, like, grab spells from my library, and if I reveal something juicy, then obviously that's the one we're going to pick. But if my opponents have something that's better, then yeah, I want to grab that. And it's free, so it's not going to be bad. We do that every upkeep too, so that just like you can get 2 free spells every upkeep in addition to the rest of the spell casting that you want to be doing will set you pretty far ahead of your opponents if they're not also finding free value in a similar way. Similarly, the first Atali Primal Storm, that attack trigger, reveal the top card of everybody's exile the top card of each opponent's library, and you can cast any number of spells from among those. That's just everybody loves her. Nobody's ever complained. Huge fan of that card.
If you're on the receiving end, that's the only time you're complaining, because if you're the active Atali player that's attacking, you're like, hell yeah, I love all these cards that I'm seeing.
And I honestly feel like your opponents are just like, damn, I wish I was attacking with Atali.
And then they steal your Atali, Quinn.
Yeah, they do steal your Atali. Rather than the second printing of Atali, where you cast that and people are like, well, fuck, this sucks. This game is over. Let's move on. Are we good here?
Yeah, that Atali 2.0 does get abused.
It is... It's too good. I would exercise extreme caution approaching this one. If you put that on the stack, this stops being a fun spell theft thing and starts being an Atali 2 thing, and those things are seen differently in your opponent's mind. I cannot explain this.
No, it makes sense. It does. Trust me.
Other spell theft one shots. We have we want to like prioritize these spells that you can use again. So I've grabbed some with flashback here. Siphon Insight exiles the top cards of I think target player's library. Let me actually pull up the card.
I think that should be the case, but
all right, Siphon Insight looks at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library. You exile one of them face down, put the other on the bottom of the library, and you can play the exiled card first so long as it remains exiled, and it washes the mana for you. And it's got flashback, so you can use it again. I think being able to look at 2 cards there and pick one of them is all right. You get the best of those. And then the flashback, like if you're looking at the same person's library, then you're definitely going to find something good, but you should probably spread those out, Lamau. Lidless Gaze is similar, except that exiles the top card of each player's library, so you're also seeing cards from your library in addition to your opponent's. I think if you're revealing not a land from your library and a land from your opponent's library and hit your land drops from your opponent's library, fuck it.
I think that's the thing too, right? I can't really recall if we touched on that, but like if you are playing the Steely effects that say you can play that card until a certain point, and that also includes lands, we're like, hell yeah, that's great, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love to hit my land drop from my opponent's library. It means that all of the cards that are non-lands are still gas to me. Big fan of that.
Yeah, Lidless Gaze is so sick, though.
Yeah, the casting cost and the flashback cost are exactly the same. 2 in a red in both cases, which is fucking wild to me. There's not a lot of spells that are like that. 2 red
black is nuts, and yeah. So hey, Lord of the Rings, what a set, huh?
What a set indeed. And this one's from the Lord of the Rings Commander deck, so like even more so, what a set.
No kidding.
So we've got our like spell theft, coastal piracy, predator's hour, like we talked about earlier. That guy is incredible. The evasion, the card draw, all of it's really good, and it washes the mana, which is I think the things that give you the ability to spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it are higher priority to me because I don't have to solve for whatever you have going on. It's just if you find activated abilities or whatever, then you want to probably pack your exotic orchard or your treasure production to ensure that you can get the most out of your opponent's spells.
Chromatic lantern or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then these spells will win the fucking game if X is big enough. Villainous Wealth / Codis the Fangkeeper. You just exile the top cards of your opponent's library and cast all of the spells in there for free, basically. And Gix Yawgmoth Praetors, it's sort of the same thing. You just discard cards from your hand and then exile that many cards to of target opponent's library. If you make X really big, you find whatever you need and can put together a win from there. It's kind of just like a volume of free spells is going to be good regardless of what the rules text on those cards is.
Yeah. Pretty good. Codis, dang, what a balancing act you have to do to make sure you don't just fucking kill someone instead of casting your spells.
Yeah, I think you just do it anyway.
No, yeah, look, if you're cleaving someone's head off regardless, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, just fucking Blackblade Reforged him out of the game, whatever. So now that we have drawn our cards, what are our payoffs for drawing all of these stolen cards? Shout out to Gonti3 again here. Truly one of the greatest of all time of spell theft. I really think that they were like in a lab. What do spell theft mages need to be successful? They need Gonti. They need to draw the cards on combat damage. It needs to be like coastal piracy, and they need to get paid off for casting those stolen spells. And they need a little bit of a fucking way to divert the aggression from them for casting all these stolen spells and stealing all of these spells. So we're going to rope everybody into this criminal enterprise by allowing everybody to take part in that. And that actually does drive heat away from you. Now they're involved and they can't snitch.
They cannot give you a prisoner's dilemma. They are just partaking in the activity.
Yeah, everybody's getting in on stealing spells. Every once in a while, somebody will be like, oh, this synergizes with my deck really well. And then they're making treasures for casting those stolen spells, so they're really just, like, very highly incentivized to try and get in there for combat damage. It's the most fucked up mono-black Disrupticorum I've seen yet.
Only true sickos will play this deck.
Yeah,
the sickos is
like
Quinn.
Going to 3 a lot. Yeah, basically. Another payoff for stolen spells, you're playing a cast from exile deck at the end of the day. So you want to play all of the things that pay you off for casting spells from outside of your hand. There's a suite of cards that do burn damage. You've got the Passionate Archaeologist background that gives your commander the ability, deals damage equal to the mana value to your target opponent when you cast spells from exile. You've got Flaming Tyrannosaurus, which is the
Doctor Who mentioned. We've already done this, but we are now officially declaring Doctor Who mention.
Yeah, you've got the Flaming Tyrannosaurus that lightning bolts any target when you cast spells from exile. You've got the Unstable Amulet from Modern Horizons that pings, I think, each opponent when you cast spells from not your hand. Then you've got other cards that let you accrue advantage, like Prosper Tomebound, Fake of the Watcher, Faldorn, Dread Wolf General, whatever her subtitle is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Faldorn, you remember her. She's Gruul Prosper. And then Boros Pia, who is making Thopters whenever you cast spells from exile. And anything from the Doctor Who set that says Paradox on it, all of that you can play in this to accrue advantage. Other payoffs, damage or damage modification. You've got Don Andres the Renegade from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Pirates Recon. He gives creatures that you don't own +2/+2 and Death Touch and Menace, I think.
Yeah, he's pretty stacked once you get creatures in the
Menace and
battlefield.
Death Touch +2/+2, and it makes them pirates in addition to their other types for any of the pirate synergies. He also gives you 2 tapped treasures whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own. So just like all around, if you're playing Spell Theft, you probably want to be considering playing Don Andres the Renegade in your deck. This guy is fucking strong. Additionally, Brainstealer Dragon. Whenever a permanent that you don't own enters the battlefield under your control, it burns the owner for the mana value of that thing. So if you're stealing progressively bigger things, you can do more and more life loss to your opponents. And the Brainstealer Dragon sets all of that up itself by, on your end step, exiling the top card of each opponent's library. So it's both the Spell Theft engine and the Spell Theft win condition, as it should be for costing 7 mana.
I just realized this entire soapbox is gonna be like Joel's fever dream of just like all the best hits.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about Joel and his obsession with spell theft and just like a kindred spirit thinking about putting this together.
By the way, now that I remember before we continue here, he hates Codus the Fangkeeper.
Yeah.
We got the answer.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Probably just makes it too easy.
Exactly. All right. So, what else do we do with all these cards that we're casting?
Yeah, how are we winning the game with our ill-gotten gains? We've seen a bunch of cards. We've got a couple of payoffs for having seen a bunch of cards. We're participating in the game meaningfully, but how are we closing the door on it? Did we find anything that does burn damage or buffs from the payoff section up above? Then yeah, that's probably a win con. We want to hold those guys close. If you find a Brainstealer Dragon, you protect her. If you find Don Andres, you try and make sure that he doesn't get removed. Unless he's in the command zone, then fuck it, cast him again. You've got infinite money, whatever. Besides that, though, gamers are primarily on creatures' game plans, so if you come through with a few ways to buff creatures even further or amplify your burn damage, you're in great shape. If you've got the Soulfam Mayhem Dominus type of gamer, then put that in the deck to amplify your burn damage. And then I think I really like Homura, Ageless Ascendant from one of the Kamigawa sets. He's a 6-mana 4/4, and when he dies, he returns to the battlefield transformed as Homura's Essence, an enchantment that gives all of your creatures +2/+2 flying and fire breathing, basically turning everyone into dragons.
Yeah, that is. I think I have a copy of that somewhere. I need to find a home for that.
I play that guy a lot, actually, and just red aggro, because, I don't know, you need a way to close the game, and +2/+2 flying it goes a long way.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all.
That said, here are Empress Quinn's picks for fucking sickos.
Hold on, pointing at the screen. You are a motherfucker.
Yeah, you should probably just simple flavors this shit and play something that actually kills people rather than shortens the clock increasingly like these cards that I'm about to talk to you about. But there's just something about playing a wicked little game and making the music speed up in the last 100 seconds. And for that...
Pokemon music.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just freaking dancing there while your HP is at critical. You're like, I'm so anxious right now.
So we've got cards like Wound Reflection, which with the end step, each opponent is going to lose life equal to the amount of life that they lost that turn. We've got the same rules text, plus your opponents can't gain life on the Demon Archfiend of Despair. Love that guy. And we also have a personal favorite of mine, which ropes you into the chaos, Havoc Festival. It says players can't gain life, and at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they lose half their life rounded up. So this can and will kill you.
I can't believe you've done this.
Playing Magic the Gathering is about dragging your friends into the minigames dimension.
I thought I was dragging them into the crab bucket, but I guess the crab bucket is also the minigames dimension.
Yeah, we get to the minigames dimension and you look around and you find out we're all crabs here.
No, not crab carcinization, no.
Yeah, all will return to crab and all crabs will remain in the bucket. So that's your Spell Theft deck. What do we do about Spell Theft in the 99? I'm going to keep it 100 with you, Chief. You kind of just pick the favorites from the above section that are on theme for your game plan already. It's literally just card advantage. You can treat it like that. Are you a mono-black combat mage who wished you could play Coastal Piracy? Put Gonti 3 in the 99 of your decks. I've been doing it. It's literally fine. You can also play the Predator's Hour like we talked about. Are you a Monarch deck or an Enchantress deck? Check out Court of Lochthwain. Are you a Pirates deck that revels in the theft game plan? Are you on the fucking Coercive Recruiters and the, the guys that steal with the activated ability? You know the ones, the pirates that do that. Yeah, if that's your game plan, absolutely play Don Andres. You're going to give yourself the buff that you want to make combat matter, and Menace and Death Touch is extremely fucking annoying.
Play Edward Kenway.
Yeah, absolutely. Edward Kenway works for that too. He does Spell Theft too, actually. If you play the vehicles half of the card, when they deal combat damage to your opponent, you exile the top card of their library. So he's a Spell Theft engine that you can play if you are a vehicles deck, but you need to be a vehicles deck for that to matter. So I didn't bring him up here. He's not like a general Spell Theft. There's a lot of guys
there are some conditions there for sure.
Yeah, actually, we can take a brief aside to talk about the conditional Spell Theft engines. Edward Kenway, I think, is the biggest example of this, but Excel Scion of Atraxa is also that. They're just not the kind of thing that you can stick in the 99 of any deck and have that be your card advantage engine. You need to probably be building around those ones. So we didn't spend that much time talking about them in the context of playing Spell Theft in general, but that does do that. And I like those cards for it. That said, back to Spell Theft in the 99. If your guy's a Rakdos Outlaw, that absolute motherfucker, Laughing Jasper Flint.
I fucking hate that guy. All my homies hate that guy.
Yeah, he kind of sucks, but also he kind of rules. So I play him on MTGO and steal people's spells and be a little rude with that.
Arena Bane of Nightmares, known as Laughing Jasper Flint.
I don't play him in Arena. He's miserable there.
You cannot go 2 Brawl games in a row without him showing up.
It's so bad, dude.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And then Stolen Strategy, like we talked about, seeing 3 cards, pretty strong. I like that in mono red decks. That'll keep you in a game. Having things to do is so important, and that'll give you things to do. It doesn't matter that they don't synergize with your game plan. They're still good cards.
If you can turbo out a Stolen Strategy, like, it really does go a long way.
Yeah, I think if you can, you probably don't lose that game. That's very funny.
We have to blow up the Stolen Strategy. No one has ever said this before.
No one has ever said that before, but they have blown up my Stolen Strategy before. Because, can't have shit around here. All right, last section here. I think I want to talk about Spell Theft and your opponents. All of this advice is exclusively for the I play webcam magic with my friends metagame or the MTGO metagame. If you play with physical cards in person, can I promise any of this shit works there? So don't look at me if that's what you're up to. That said, you aren't just stealing these spells in a vacuum. You are stealing them from someone. And that's going to cause some emotional responses. And I need to impress upon you, my dear gamer, that this is understandable and justified.
Yes, I love seeing more cards in my deck, but I do not like them being untouchable or being stolen away from me, so I cannot cast them myself.
So to mitigate some of this salt, you can try and be the most ethical thief possible and stick to a thieves code. Point 1 of this, you can't play this shit every game. You can't even play it every night, TBH. You can't be all up in your opponent's decks every game sesh. You gotta space the theft deck appearances out. You also can't just pick one person and tell them, I'm playing your deck now. That shit sucks to be the target of, and you need to try and spread out your instances of theft. You can frame it like you want to see the widest variety of cards possible, and that's true, but ultimately you just need it to feel like you're sampling bites off of everyone's plate. And you need to stick to spell theft. Is it better to steal things on board once they've been cast? Absolutely. That shit is basically a removal spell. They don't have it, now you have it, it's simple math. That said, it doesn't fucking matter. We're here to actually get to play a game and not draw aggro that we can't handle, and onboard theft will draw aggro that we cannot handle. Spell theft can get a bit more charity because you're not taking anything that anyone has spent resources on, and in most cases, you had to spend the resources on the spell yourself. You're not being as disruptive to their game plan, and as such don't need to get threat assessed in the way that casting a mind control might make them threat assess you. And as long as you don't deviate from that, people can square that in your minds and be more okay with you touching their cards. But note that you are still on thin fucking ice. And lastly, you cannot ever tell them about your thieves code, because this is still theft and it's still wrong, and the second you misstep, any goodwill accrued evaporates instantly. They don't care that you're being a more ethical villain than other villains out there. You are still being a villain to them, and wasting any time trying to explain that, no, but I'm not being as bad. Shut up, they don't care.
They are so mad.
Alright, so with all of that, let's put a fucking bow on this. Spell theft is just weird card advantage. If you're looking to experience a wider variety of cards and perhaps simulate the experience from Cube of assembling a sick limited deck from busted fucking cards, consider spell theft. It's not good, but it is fun. in deck construction, you want to prioritize spell theft engines, but still include one-shot spell theft effects. Just like in regular card draw, it's important to diversify your investments. And lastly, theft can be a high sailing strategy. You can mitigate that by sticking to your Thieves' Code. That said, your opponents don't care that you're more honorable than other thieves, so do not ever mention your Thieves' Code to them. That's it, gamers. That's my sermon on spell theft.
Much to think about. But yeah, damn, that was a real meaty soapbox there.
Yeah, I kind of don't step on the soapbox unless I've got a fucking thing to say with capital letters. So that's what happens here. We write a fucking essay and then deliver it.
Dang, I better step up for the next one that I'm going to be doing here. Yeah. Spell theft's always been a pretty interesting thing to think about for me. Because I don't do that a whole lot. I do the active treason stuff, you know? I do the threaten effects. This is something I'm pretty used to doing.
Yeah, Mr. Steel and Sack.
And also just like you get commandeered a few times in your early commander career and you kind of get turned off by the concept, you know?
I think Commandeer is different because they spent resources on that spell and you're stealing it from the stack, but like, I don't know, that should hit different.
Yeah. But again, like going back to like Joel and everything, it's again, like it's a very risk reward thing. Like you said, unless you are literally Joel, who will bring a full silo of steely boy deck, you know, it's such a fine line. And again, there's so many strategies that exist within Magic that are there for a reason. Designers sat there and made that strategy, and that includes literally just like a full deck full of like counter spells and stuff. Like we've all gone against like Baral decks.
Yeah, or the mono blue control with the tinfoil hat the size of Texas. We've all been there.
Yeah. Still, it is a cool strategy. And I know that you're the big top sicko loving that stuff because what did Benoit say? What's good? What's the best thing to do in Magic is turn creatures sideways and touching people's cards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Damn, what a good way to end it too. This is good. Another lengthy episode. We will apologize for nothing because this is the norm.
Yeah, tell the people where they can find us online.
All right. Find me at the Bloodric Guy. Find Quinn at Girl Dick Energy. The collective of Here's My Vibe Check at HBVC MTG on Bluesky. Go check us out over on MTG Lexicon, the dive bar of AEH every Saturday and sometimes every Wednesday. And go chat with us in the Heroes Blade Vibe Check Discord channel, where you can tell us the cool things you are doing with your decks, the pools, the new legendary creatures. Ask us, does this pass the vibe check? We'll probably tell you yes or no and why.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's it, gamers. We'll see you next time.
Later.